The air thrives in the middle realm.
Honor?
I return only to honor your grand legacy.
You trespass upon this silent sanctuary just to whisper empty tributes?
I am a loyal servant!
Preserved? You covet the sovereign's core resonance,
That is an absolute fabrication!
hoping to siphon it for your own ascension.
I swear to the void! You cannot hold me! The spatial rift bends to my will!
Your will? Before the ultimate domain, your tricks are but dust caught in a tempest.
Spare me! My existence still holds value for the air!
Your value lies solely in this refinement, a perfect essence drop to nourish the new dawn.
You still haven't told me how you got your hands on the Hell Soul Bell. You must have fought tooth and nail, barely escaping with your life, right? There's no way a treasure like that was just sitting somewhere safe. Fang Chen rubbed his nose. I'd rather not say. He had nearly gotten Hua Xin killed earlier and was already feeling a bit guilty. He really didn't have the heart to deal her another psychological blow. But Hua Xin gritted her teeth. Just tell me, put me out of my misery. I really want to know what godforsaken corner this bell was hiding in. I racked my brain and searched everywhere, but found absolutely nothing. I've turned this entire 10th level upside down, leaving only the forbidden zones and the lairs of a few terrifying apex predators untouched. Fang Chen cleared his throat. All right, but you asked for it, so don't blame me. He then laid out exactly how he got the bell, recounting the events of that day word for word. Hearing the truth, Hua Xin froze in place, utterly dumbfounded. Are you saying this Hell Soul Bell was sitting inside the stomach of a one-aperture hellborn creature? And the only reason you got it was because you took out my tiger token yin marrow that made the creature submit to you and literally hand over the bell on a silver platter? Fang Chen nodded, yep. Hua Xin stared blankly. So, if you hadn't stolen my tiger token yin marrow, it would have submitted to me and given me the bell. Fang Chen cleared his throat again, most likely. Hua Xin clenched her fists, her hair practically standing on end with rage. She pounded furiously against the phantom crystal. In other words, you stole the bell that was supposed to be mine. Fang Chen rubbed his nose. Let's not be so petty. We're practically family now. Why bicker over such trivial details? Hua Xin shrieked, totally losing her mind. Fang Chen, you absolute dog. Before she could rupture his eardrums, Fang Chen swiped a finger across the phantom crystal, manually muting her. He then turned to the Two-Headed Hellhound and sighed, look at what you did. You made her so mad. The hellhound looked as if it perfectly understood his words. Its eyes went wide, its expression screaming, wasn't she cussing you out? Fang Chen frowned. Didn't you hear her say dog? Who else is the dog here? The hellhound's two heads looked at each other, falling into deep thought. It seemed she really was cursing them. After all, a hound was still a dog. Ding, ling, ling. Fang Chen shook the Hell Soul Bell again. Instantly, the Two-Headed Hellhound dropped to the ground, panting with its tongues out and wagging its tail, acting like a loyal pet that had just found its master. It was impossible to connect this goofy behavior with the terrifying, bloodthirsty beast from moments ago. Fang Chen couldn't help but smile. Looks like crossing the 10th level won't be a problem at all. Riding a Two-Headed Hellhound should save us a whole lot of trouble. Before leaving, he thoroughly looted the remaining half-acre of the spiritual garden, not leaving a single leaf behind. Only then did he leap onto the hellhound's broad back. The beast offered zero resistance. Instead, it barked happily. Zia Keoj followed suit, landing gracefully right beside Fang Chen. She flashed a sweet smile. Congratulations, Uncle, Master. You've obtained yet another magical artifact. Fang Chen teased, you know too many of my secrets now. I might just have to silence you permanently. Zia Keoj covered her mouth with a giggle. What else can I do? There's no one around and screaming won't help. I guess I'll just have to let Uncle, Master. She trailed off. Realizing how that sounded, she quickly turned her head away, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. Fang Chen also felt the sudden awkwardness. She made it sound like he was about to do something scandalous to her. He coughed dryly. Good boy, head that way. The Two-Headed Hellhound immediately stood up and sprinted toward the teleportation array. Meanwhile, an old woman stood amidst the ruins beneath the sky's rift. She ran her finger across a piece of rubble, picking up a trace of faintly glowing golden blood. Her wrinkled face was etched with a bone, chilling hostility. You actually killed the young master. Thud, Kui Xing dropped to his knees in pure terror, cold sweat pouring down his forehead. He didn't even dare to imagine the sheer status of someone this Asura king would call young master. My lord, it was that human, Fang Chen. He intentionally detonated the black crystal. I'll take you to him right now. We can avenge the young master. The old woman tilted her head back, silently gazing up at the sky before closing her eyes. When she opened them a moment later, the murderous intent had faded, replaced by an eerie calm. Her voice was deadpan. No need. It doesn't matter who detonated it anymore. Everyone who entered this place today must die. I'll spare your life, purely because you are of my Asura clan, but never set foot here again. Overjoyed, Kui Xing kowtowed frantically. Yes, thank you, senior. By the time he raised his head, the old woman had vanished without a trace, undoubtedly off to exact vengeance for the young master. Kui Xing wiped the cold sweat from his brow. Human brat, you should have just been a good little slave. Now look what you've done. You've provoked the ultimate taboo of the 10th level. You're all dead meat. Barking a manic laugh, he fled the forbidden zone. Fang Chen rode the hound, sprinting madly toward the array. They encountered several ambushes from creatures of hell along the way, but sensing the overwhelming presence of the Two-Headed Hellhound, the monsters quickly backed off. Now that's a good boy, Fang Chen couldn't help but praise. With this hound as his mount, crossing the 10th floor would be an absolute breeze. But just then, a chorus of vicious barking echoed from the distance. The Two-Headed Hellhound beneath him sniffed the air and immediately bolted toward the sound. Before they even arrived, they saw billowing dust obscuring the sky, accompanied by ground-shaking tremors. Crisscrossing beams of blood, red light blasted relentlessly from the jaws of a pack of hellhounds. Over a dozen Two-Headed Hellhounds were swarming an absolutely massive beast wreathed in blood, red flames. By the time Fang Chen arrived, the behemoth, whose power easily rivaled a third, aperture nascent soul realm expert, crashed heavily to the earth. Looking closely, the creature resembled a monstrous wild boar, its entire body ablaze with those blood-red flames. Fang Chen recognized it instantly, Asura karmic fire. As if harboring a deep, personal grudge, Fang Chen's mount lunged forward, viciously tearing into the boar's corpse and ripping its belly wide open. Fang Chen watched in confusion. The hellhound raised its heads, letting out a series of low, guttural barks and growls, but the words were completely lost on him. He says this boar sold out his packmate, getting him captured by a human monk. They've been hunting it down for revenge. Realization hit Fang Chen. He glanced at the Asura karmic fire clinging to the boar and suddenly understood where Fein Vajra had gotten his flames. This boar must have traded a portion of its Asura karmic fire to hire Fein Vajra to deal with the hellhounds, however. Wait, Fang Chen frowned. Little Killen, how are you understanding them? The little Killen poked its head out. A phantom crystal clamped in its jaws and transmitted a thought directly into Fang Chen's mind. The pretty lady taught me. She called it the language of hell. Oh, the language of hell. The language of hell. The very same inscriptions he had been painstakingly searching for on the bronze artifacts. Hua Xin actually knew them. Fang Chen looked at the disheveled, furiously glaring Hua Xin and grinned. Sister Hua Xin, so you're fluent in human, demon, and hell languages. Why didn't you say so sooner? Your little brother is a very eager student. Care to teach me? Even though he couldn't hear her, reading her lips made one thing crystal clear. Whatever the furious woman was screaming, it definitely wasn't family-friendly. Him? Well, we have plenty of time. We can have a nice, long chat later. His only answer was the violent, buzzing vibrations of her pounding against the phantom crystal, along with countless unheard screams of shameless. Just then, a mournful whimper rose from the pack. Fang Chen's mount padded over, revealing a fellow hound with its neck snapped by the boar, bleeding profusely. Its tail gave a weak, final wag, the last fleeting spark of life before death. The pack of Two-Headed Hellhounds circled their fallen comrade, whining in sorrow. Fang Chen's mount lowered its heads, its massive frame trembling with grief. With a soft sigh, Fang Chen leaped off the hound's back. His sudden approach caused the rest of the pack to instantly bristle, their fierce auras flaring with murderous intent. They only calmed down when he pulled out the Hell Soul Bell and gave it a gentle ring. Their tails wagged slightly at him, accompanied by low grunts, a complex mix of welcoming the newcomer and mourning their lost kin. Fang Chen knelt beside the dying hellhound. He pulled out 2 rejuvenation elixirs, popping one into each of its mouths. Almost instantly, the fading light in the dying hellhound's eyes was replaced by a vibrant gleam. The surrounding pack erupted into joyous, deafening barks. Several of them bounded over, their tails wagging furiously at Fang Chen. Meanwhile, one of the hellhounds rummaged through the boar's torn guts. It soon trotted over and dropped a blood, red orb the size of a human head right at Fang Chen's feet. Fang Chen immediately sensed the intense Asura karmic fire radiating from it, easily over 10 times stronger than what he had refined earlier. His eyes lit up with sheer delight. With this, he could push the first layer of the profound blue true fire cultivation method from the minor success stage all the way to major mastery. Fang Chen cupped his fists in thanks, snatched up the orb, and hopped back onto his mount. He didn't waste a single second, immediately absorbing the Asura karmic fire within. His hound let out a triumphant howl to the sky. Leaving just one member behind to watch over the injured pup, the entire pack mobilized, forming a massive escort to guide Fang Chen toward the teleportation array. 100 miles away from the array, atop a rugged peak, Fairy Kynlin unleashed a blast of azure flames from her palm, sending a massive yin-inna, using Black Scorpion crashing to the ground. A confident smirk touched her lips. Junior brother Tianju, this 10th floor really isn't much of a challenge. The three of us haven't even been here for a day, and we've already cleared a 10-mile radius. Our merit points must be well over 100,000 by now, right? Pavilion, Master Tianji gracefully repelled a lesser hell creature that hadn't even reached the nascent soul realm. He frowned slightly, his gaze sweeping over the mountain beneath their feet. This peak is known as the Black Reef. It used to be the territory of a 5th aperture hell creature. For some reason, it's nowhere to be seen today. The hellspawn along the path had thinned out significantly, leaving barely a fraction of the original swarm. Master Yunhuo frowned. Could this be the work of those black pillars, just like the black crystal on the 9th floor? The pavilion master looked thoughtful. The cause is still a mystery, but this works in our favor. Let's pick up the pace and find any traces of that ancient saint. Just then, a voice like ice cut through the air. You can stop looking. Kui Xing stared at the trio with cold indifference. He was secretly surprised. The Shura King had vowed to wipe out every intruder. So why had he reached the teleportation array before his master arrived? Not that it mattered. He narrowed his eyes at the pavilion master. You're a master of lightning techniques, aren't you? Come with me. I have a place to show you. The pavilion master's expression darkened as he stared at the pair of sharp horns protruding from the stranger's head. The Shura race. It had been 1,000 years. He couldn't believe any of them were still alive. Fairy Kynlin and Master Yunhuo's faces shifted. Without a word, they moved to flank the pavilion master. Brother Yunhuo, this Shura is after Tianju. Take him and get out of here. I'll hold the line. It wasn't Master Yunhuo who spoke, but Fairy Kynlin, the very woman who had always been the pavilion master's harshest critic. He blinked, clearly caught off guard. Sister Kynlin, you... Kynlin kept her gaze fixed forward. Shut up and move. Master Yunhuo understood her better than anyone. He let out a soft sigh. Tianju, back then you were so obsessed with your cultivation that you completely missed what was right in front of you. Kynlin's long, standing grudge against Yun Tianju had never actually been about his title as pavilion master. The title was a cage, and she knew that better than anyone. All her constant bickering and hostility were just an excuse to vent years of repressed resentment. As an outsider looking in, Yunhuo had seen exactly how Kynlin felt about her junior brother, but unfortunately, Yun Tianju's heart was set solely on his martial path. He had been completely blind to her advances. For a long time, Kynlin believed he simply thought he was too good for her, and that perceived rejection had curdled into bitterness. She had spent years training like a woman possessed, desperate to surpass him. Now that she finally had, her revenge amounted to nothing more than a few snide remarks. She never truly intended to hurt him. And now, seeing him in danger, she was more frantic than anyone. Her true feelings were laid bare. Say one more word, and I'll burn your tongue off. Kynlin stomped her foot, glaring at the talkative Master Yunhuo in frustrated embarrassment. The pavilion master stood dazed for a moment before a bitter smile touched his lips. Is that right? Then I really did miss out on something special. He didn't retreat. Instead, he channeled his full nascent soul energy and summoned a miniature, palm-sized pavilion. It had 10 levels, though the very bottom was jagged and broken, torn away by some ancient, violent force. I might not have full control over the 10th floor, but this should give us a fighting chance. It's rare for the three of us to be together like this. Let's settle this as a team. Seeing the pavilion master bring out his trump card, Kynlin stopped trying to argue. Blue flames erupted from her palms as she lunged forward. You want my brother? You'll have to go through me first. Master Yunhuo followed right behind her, his body wreathed in roaring green fire. The Pavilion Master began weaving hand seals, sending energy into the artifact. A series of shimmering spatial barriers slammed into place around Kui Xing, locking him down. Kui Xing just chuckled, his eyes fixed on the damaged artifact. So, you're the current master of the Celestial Secrets Pavilion. What a coincidence. I have something that looks just like that. He pulled out a jagged fragment of a building's base from the look of the fracture. It was a perfect match for the artifact in the Pavilion Master's hand. The Pavilion Master's face went pale. You're the Shura who escaped hundreds of years ago. This pavilion was a specialized artifact crafted by an ancient saint to control the spatial barriers of the underworld. Centuries ago, the previous Pavilion Master had been ambushed on the 8th floor by a mysterious Shura warrior. He had been left for dead, and a critical piece of the artifact had been stolen. The moment he saw the fragment, the Pavilion Master knew exactly who he was dealing with. He saw Yunhuo and Qianlin charging in and screamed, "Get back! His fragment has more control over the 10th floor barriers than mine does." The Pavilion Master held only a fraction of the power. Kui Xing held the lion's share. Kui Xing let out a malicious smirk and activated the fragment in his palm. In an instant, the barriers trapping him vanished. Dozens of new walls of force snapped into existence, encaging Master Yunhuo instead. With a savage grin, Kui Xing spat out a blood-red chain that whipped through the air toward Fairy Qianlin. The sheer gap in their cultivation was absolute. They weren't even playing the same game. In a single clash, the blue lotus blossoming from Fairy Qianlin's palm was utterly shattered by the blood-red chain. Without losing an ounce of momentum, the chain brutally pierced right through her shoulder. Fairy Qianlin swallowed a groan of pain. In an instant, she conjured a blade of fire in her hand and severed the vicious link. But in that brief fraction of a second, she realized with horror that a full 10th of her lifeblood had been drained. Waves of crushing weakness washed over her. Kui Xing licked his lips, looking utterly satisfied. There's nothing quite like the lifeblood of a human in the nascent soul realm. It's so much sweeter than those pathetic golden core cultivators. Nourished by her stolen blood, the gruesome, gaping wound on his abdomen began knitting back together at a terrifying speed. Even his blow-out eyeball regenerated, reforming itself with disturbing, grotesque speed. This was the terrifying trait of the bloodthirsty Asura clan. As long as they consumed enough lifeblood, they could heal from literally anything. The Pavilion Master's expression turned grim. Fall back, both of you. Don't throw your lives away for nothing. If this Asura was only at the 3-aperture stage, the 3 of them combined might have stood a fighting chance. But this monster controlled the spatial barriers of the 10th layer world. They had just seen firsthand how deadly that advantage could be. He could isolate them at any moment and pick them off one by one. Forcing this fight would only end in an absolute massacre. Master Yunhuo violently shattered several spatial barriers to regroup with the Pavilion Master. He glanced at Fairy Qianlin. Her face was pale, her aura dangerously weak, and his heart sank. "Stop hesitating," the Pavilion Master barked, his voice filled with unwavering resolve. Master Yunhuo and Fairy Qianlin exchanged a torn look, desperately wrestling with the decision. "You might have had a chance to run a minute ago," Kui Xing sneered, a wicked grin spreading across his face, "but after tasting such sweet blood, I'm not about to let my next meal walk away." A dense, impenetrable labyrinth of spatial barriers instantly materialized behind them. Breaking through would take far too long. There was zero chance of reaching the teleportation array 100 miles away. Fairy Qianlin gritted her teeth. "Well, it looks like he made the choice for us. Keep a tight formation. Don't let him separate us. If he wants to drink our blood, he'd better be ready to swallow his own teeth." The Pavilion Master's eyes narrowed. They were backed into a corner. This was a fight to the bitter end. Rough bark. Suddenly, massive clouds of dust kicked up on the horizon, accompanied by the deafening, earth-shaking barks of dozens of hounds. Kui Xing burst into maniacal laughter. "Two-Headed Hellhounds. Oh, you guys really have the worst luck imaginable. When it rains, it pours. Ha. As if fighting me wasn't bad enough, now you get to be dog food." The little color left in Fairy Qianlin's face completely drained away. A bitter smile touched her lips, her fighting spirit utterly crushed. How were they supposed to survive this? She looked over at the Pavilion Master, who mirrored her despair and softly pursed her lips. "Yun Tianju, you've officially gotten me killed. If you had just given me the true spirit blood earlier, we wouldn't be in this mess." The Pavilion Master offered a somber bow. "I'm sorry, this is my fault. I dragged both of you down with me." Fairy Qianlin shot him a fierce, half-joking glare. "And how exactly do you plan on making it up to me?" "Make it up to you?" The Pavilion Master watched the dark tide of vicious, blood-crazed hellhounds surging toward them. He let out a dark, cynical laugh. "We're about to be ripped to shreds. What kind of compensation could you possibly want? Fairy Kyanlin bit her bottom lip, closed the distance in a single stride, and wrapped her arms around his neck. Before the completely stunned Pavilion Master could react, she pulled him in and kissed him. "That's for making me wait 20 years, she whispered, a sense of closure in her voice. A rare, tender smile graced Fairy Kyanlin's usually icy features. Staring at the dumbfounded Pavilion Master, and hearing the deafening stampede of monsters right on top of them, she kissed him again, a final, beautiful farewell before the end. Aunt Kyanlin, Pavilion Master, what exactly is going on here? That voice Fairy Kyanlin pulled away, her eyes darting toward the sound. There, amidst a terrifying pack of mountain-sized hellhounds, a young man and a woman were standing casually atop the lead hound's head. The guy was none other than the little bastard who had swindled her out of her secret technique, and right now he was staring at her and the Pavilion Master with his jaw practically hitting the floor. Snapping back to reality, Fairy Kyanlin practically shoved the Pavilion Master away. Don't misunderstand, this isn't what it looks like. Fang Chen just stood there, looking utterly bewildered. Didn't Fairy Kyanlin absolutely despise the Pavilion Master? How did coming down to the 10th layer end, with her throwing herself into his arms and swapping spit? He glanced at the Pavilion Master's ruggedly handsome, refined face and suddenly put two and two together. He flashed a knowing thumbs up. You never cease to amaze me, Pavilion Master. I bow to your undeniable charm. It took him and Lady Ruxue ages to finally get on the same page and be together. But the Pavilion Master, he just takes a quick trip to the underworld and boom, mission accomplished. The man was a legend. Clearly, Fang Chen still had a lot to learn from him. The Pavilion Master finally snapped out of his daze. He didn't know whether to laugh or scold the boy for catching them in such an embarrassing moment. He looked back at Fang Chen, who was casually standing among the pack of apocalyptic beasts, his eyes flashing with disbelief. Fang Chen, how are you with these hellhounds? Fang Chen affectionately patted the massive dog head beneath his feet. Oh, these guys, they're my bros. Right on cue, the colossal beast tilted its two heads up and let out two booming, friendly barks. A spark of hope ignited in the Pavilion Master's eyes. Beside him, Fairy Kyanlin and Master Yunhuo were visibly trembling with sudden relief. They had absolutely no idea how Fang Chen had tamed this pack of savage nightmares, but it didn't matter. They were saved. On the flip side, Kui Xing's smug arrogance had completely evaporated. His face was twisted into an ugly scowl. You little brat, Kui Xing hissed, utterly flabbergasted. How in the hell did you earn the respect of these hounds? Even in the underworld, Two-Headed Hellhounds were notoriously vicious, untamable predators. Even as an Asura, a native of the underworld himself, he couldn't command their respect. The absolute best he could do was slightly lessen their urge to kill him. But did Fang Chen actually want to know? Fang Chen glanced at Fairy Kyanlin's pale face and instantly realized what Kui Xing had done. A chilling intent flooded his eyes. I'll burn some paper offerings and tell your ghost. Tear him to shreds, Fang Chen pointed a finger at Kui Xing. The pack of Two-Headed Hellhounds instantly bared their fangs, their eyes flashing with feral viciousness as they roared and charged. Kui Xing's scalp went numb. Fang Chen, you absolute jinx, he roared in sheer frustration. He felt incredibly aggrieved. When he first bumped into Fang Chen, he thought he'd struck gold, finding a prodigy in lightning arts. Instead, the brat had lured him straight into the 10th level's forbidden zone, where he ran into the Asura king and barely escaped with his life. But that was in the past. He'd just come out to prowl, hunting for a quick blood meal. That had absolutely nothing to do with Fang Chen, right? Yet here the little bastard was again, sicking a pack of rabid dogs on him. Who bullies people like this? Fang Chen scoffed. You're already knocking on death's door. How dare you try to suck the blood of our Pavilion Master's wife? I'm going to rip you apart. Fairy Kyanlin's face flushed bright red. Who are you calling the Pavilion Master's wife? She snapped, embarrassed and annoyed. Stop spouting nonsense. She quickly turned her fiery glare toward Kui Xing. This is all your fault, you damn leech. Searing flames erupted from both her palms as she leaped into the air, charging straight for the kill. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets and Lord Yunhuo moved at the exact same time, while the pack of over 22-headed hellhounds lunged into a frenzied attack. Even with the formidable power of a 3-aperture nascent soul realm expert, Kui Xing couldn't handle being jumped by a mob like this. Within moments, chunks of his flesh were brutally ripped away. He shrieked in agony, "Get the hell off me!" Throwing a desperate double punch, he blasted away a hellhound clamped onto his side, then vaulted into the sky to make a run for it. Primordial magnetic divine light, Fang Chen, who had been watching from the sidelines, was waiting for exactly this moment. He unleashed a beam of divine light that completely enveloped the fleeing vampire. The moment Kui Xing took to the air, a fraction of his power was sealed away, causing him to stagger mid-flight. Seizing the opening, one of the Two-Headed Hellhounds sprang into the sky and swatted him right back down to the earth with a heavy paw. The rest of the pack swarmed him instantly, tearing into him with savage, uncoordinated bites. Fang Chen, Kui Xing wailed, spitting curses between screams of sheer agony. It didn't take long. With a sickening, wet tear, Kui Xing's physical body was shredded into a mangled mess. An absolute powerhouse of the three, Aperture Nascent Soul Realm, had just been ripped limb from limb by a pack of literal dogs. A translucent, blood-red specter shot into the sky. It was Kui Xing's soul. He glared down at Fang Chen with pure, unadulterated hatred. You little brat, you destroyed my physical body, you ruined my cultivation. I swear to the gods of hell, I will absolutely. Suddenly he choked on his words. Fang Chen was looking up at him with a face full of pleasant surprise, completely unfazed by the terrifying threat. Kui Xing lost his mind in rage. Take this seriously. What the hell are you smiling at? Fang Chen was absolutely thrilled. He had just been stressing over how to find a nascent soul realm spirit, and now one was delivering itself to his doorstep. How could he possibly refuse? Without hesitating, he pulled out the soul, suppressing Buddhist beads, and tossed them into the air. Kui Xing's ghostly face twisted in horror. You little bastard, you want to capture my soul too. His spirit instantly blinked out of existence, diving into the void. The soul, suppressing beads, clamped down on empty air. Fang Chen slapped his thigh in frustration. Damn it, he actually got away. After a brief moment of intense annoyance, he let out a long, heavy sigh. Well, he is at the 3, Aperture Nascent Soul Realm. There's a fundamental difference in power compared to a 1, Aperture. Catching him would have been pure luck. Missing him is just par for the course. Just then, one of the Two-Headed Hellhounds trotted over, dutifully dropping a severed arm at Fang Chen's feet. Upon closer inspection, he noticed the dead hand was clutching a shattered fragment of a magical artifact. He pried it loose from the stiff fingers. What's this? The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets pulled out his own magical artifact and sighed. That is a fragment of my artifact, stolen by that alien Asura centuries ago. Oh, Fang Chen immediately hopped down and handed the fragment over to the Pavilion Master. Then it's right back where it belongs. The Pavilion Master hesitated, too embarrassed to accept it. This is your hard-earned loot. Fang Chen firmly shoved it into the older man's hands. You've treated me incredibly well, and backed me up more times than I can count. Don't sweat the small stuff with me. The Pavilion Master wavered for a moment before nodding. All right, I'll accept it. But how did you manage to return from the depths of the 10th level? It's a long story, Fang Chen replied. I'll fill you in on the way. We shouldn't stick around the 10th level any longer than we have to. Just the thought of that steaming cup of tea sent a violent chill down Fang Chen's spine. He never wanted to set foot in this hellhole ever again. Without wasting another second, the trio hurried toward the teleportation array. Upon learning that Fang Chen had been chased straight into the 10th level's forbidden zone by Kui Xing, the Pavilion Master was visibly stunned, a look of sheer astonishment flashing in his eyes. Then did you see the ancient saint? For 1,000 years, the Heavenly Secret Pavilion had dreamed of locating the ancient saint. But the deepest reaches of the 10th level were utterly impossible for ordinary cultivators to step foot in. Fang Chen was the first and only person to ever reach the heart of the 10th level and actually walk out alive. What thrilled him even more was Fang Chen's mention of the Immaculate Altar. It sounded exactly like the slumbering ground of the ancient saint. Fang Chen's gaze grew heavy. I'd rather hope so. The memory of 10,000 corpses bowing in reverence flashed through his mind, filling him with a profound, gnawing dread. If that truly was an ancient saint, it was one forged in endless slaughter, a terrifyingly dangerous existence. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets' smile stiffened. What makes you say that? Fang Chen was just about to explain when the Two-Headed Hellhound beneath him abruptly froze. All the other beasts around them skidded to a dead halt. They darted their heads around, sniffing the air, as if catching the scent of imminent doom. Low, panicked whimpers rumbled in their throats. Trembling violently, the pack flattened themselves against the ground, too terrified to take another step. It was as if they were in the presence of an absolute nightmare. Fang Chen's expression turned grim. He scanned their surroundings, but saw absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. Then a colossal shadow blotted out the sky. A pitch-black leviathan, thousands of feet long, soared overhead. It possessed the serpentine body of an earthworm, but was covered in impenetrable scales and wielded massive wings that swallowed the light. The sheer apocalyptic energy radiating from the beast made Fang Chen's heart hammer wildly against his ribs. The Pavilion Master's pupils shrank to pinpricks, the king of the 10th layer of hell, the abyssal fiendworm. A legendary 9, Aperture Hellborn. Fairy Kynlin and Master Cloudfire went rigid, raw, undisguised terror flooding their eyes. If this entity were unleashed upon the Taicang state, it would be an apex predator capable of annihilating the entire continent. But what truly made their hearts skip a beat was when the fiendworm circled back and slowly descended directly in front of them. It was coming right for them. Fang Chen's stomach dropped like a stone. How could they possibly fight back against a monster of this caliber? A single careless strike from that beast would reduce them, and the entire pack of hellhounds, to nothing but floating ash. The 5 of them held their breath. They stared up at the suffocating presence of the abyssal fiendworm, too petrified to even twitch. Tap, tap, just as their nerves were stretched to the absolute breaking point, the sound of footsteps echoed out. They squinted through the gloom, and all 5 of their faces instantly drained of color. An old woman draped in a grey robe was slowly climbing down from the back of the abyssal fiendworm. She had a deeply weathered face and wore threadbare clothing. There wasn't a single trace of martial energy radiating from her body. If she were walking the streets of a mortal city, anyone would dismiss her as just another frail old woman. Yet as she approached, the apocalyptic fiendworm submissively lowered its massive head. The hellhounds at their feet whimpered, burying their snouts between their paws. They kept their eyes glued to the dirt, lacking the courage to even glance at the old woman. Thump, thump. Aside from the old woman's shuffling steps, the only sound Fang Chen could hear was the frantic, deafening heartbeats of the Pavilion Master and the others. For a moment, the entire world seemed to plunge into a suffocating, deathly silence. Every single one of them suddenly realized exactly what kind of entity was standing before them. Soul Formation, the legendary Soul Formation realm. The old woman's pace was agonizingly slow, yet they all desperately wished it were slower. The Pavilion Master drew a sharp breath and respectfully cupped his hands. Senior, we had no intention of intruding. An invisible, crushing force suddenly slammed down on him, cutting off his words. His cupped hands were forcefully shoved back to his sides. The message was clear. The old woman wasn't accepting apologies. Fang Chen's mind raced a mile a minute. Normally, he'd find a spark of inspiration, a clever way out. But this time, his mind drew a total blank. In the face of a soul formation cultivator, every scheme, every magical artifact, and every cultivation method felt completely useless. Hey, don't run, get back here. A painfully familiar voice suddenly echoed in Fang Chen's ears. He flinched. Liu Ruxue, what is she doing here? Out of all places, out of all times, she just had to show up in front of a soul formation powerhouse. Panic flared in his chest. It was one thing for him to die here, but why did she have to get dragged into this mess? Looking out into the distance, he spotted Liu Ruxue sprinting after a tiny, strange-looking alien creature. She had clearly spotted the mountainous, thousands of feet, tall shadow looming ahead, and there was no way she was about to let the little silver-horned creature run straight toward it. But the fully healed little creature was impossibly fast. It had leaped from her arms and closed the distance in mere seconds, moving at speeds that rivaled even a nascent soul realm expert. The old woman sensed the commotion and slowly turned her head. A flicker of genuine emotion finally broke through her weathered features. It was excitement. With a single, imperceptible blur, she teleported directly in front of the little silver-horned creature. She threw her arms wide and pulled it into a desperate embrace. Young master, this old servant thought you were dead. The overwhelming joy of finding him alive was enough to make even a mighty soul formation realm expert weep. Tears streamed down her wrinkled face. The little silver-horned creature nuzzled against her chest, bubbling with happy, affectionate chirps. Thank the heavens you're safe. I was ready to follow you into the afterlife. The old woman held the silver-horned creature tight and wiped her tears away. But then her eyes caught the raw, unhealed wounds covering its small body. Her heartbreak instantly morphed into a seething, murderous rage. She shot a death glare at Fang Chen and his group. I've turned a blind eye to how you humans have wreaked havoc in the underground world before, but you've grown far too arrogant. You actually dared to harm our young master. He was lucky to escape with his life this time. But what if his luck had run out? He would be dead. I have been far too merciful. From now on, I will slaughter every human who dares set foot on the 10th floor, and I'm starting with you. The sheer bloodlust in her voice made Fang Chen and the others' blood run cold. Their hearts plummeted. An entity of her caliber could wipe them out with a mere flick of her wrist. Fang Chen. Liu Ruxue had sprinted toward the scene. Seeing the silver-horned creature reunited with the old woman, she had planned to retreat quietly, until she spotted Fang Chen in the crosshairs. Realizing the old woman was about to kill him, Liu Ruxue didn't hesitate. She dashed over and threw herself in front of Fang Chen, acting as a human shield. Fang Chen shot her desperate looks, signaling her to stay back and run for her life. But she refused to leave him. "Why did you come?" Fang Chen asked, a bitter taste in his mouth. "Can't you read the room? 3 nascent soul experts are paralyzed with fear. You should know exactly what kind of danger we're dealing with." "I know, I can see it perfectly well." Liu Ruxue glanced at the old woman. Even if she couldn't gauge the woman's true strength, the massive, towering beast beside her made Fang Chen's grim situation crystal clear. "I just couldn't stand by and watch you die. If you leave this world, I have no reason left to live in it." She stepped up and linked her arm firmly through his, ready to face the old woman's suffocating, killing intent together. "If we couldn't share a bed in life, then we will share a grave in death." Fang Chen squeezed her hand, a profound wave of guilt washing over him. He had promised to marry her within a month. Now, over half a year had passed, and she was still just his fiancée, not his wife. "I'm sorry for dragging you into this," Fang Chen whispered. Liu Ruxue gently rested her head against his shoulder. "You've fought hard enough, my husband." Watching the scene unfold, Xia Keoj felt a sudden, profound surge of respect for the couple. Liu Ruxue might not have been a powerhouse, nor had she spent nearly as much time by Fang Chen's side as Liu Qingxian and the others. But in this moment, she proved exactly why she deserved the most vital place in his heart. Moved by their bond, Xia Keoj discreetly pulled out a small jade box. Inside rested 2 pristine white feathers radiating a sacred aura. They were her ultimate trump cards, life-saving artifacts she had recently acquired. 1 feather could save 1 life. "I'll give them to Martial Uncle and Liu Ruxue," she thought. "May they survive to grow old together and see 1,000 more springs and autumns." But just as she was about to speak, the little silver-horned creature suddenly pointed a tiny finger at Liu Ruxue, chattering urgently. The old woman's expression shifted. "You're saying she's the one who saved you?" The little creature nodded vigorously. It then hopped down, waddling over to throw itself into Liu Ruxue's arms. Liu Ruxue's emotions were in a tangled knot. She had saved this little creature, yet its family was dead set on murdering her husband. "Go back," she said. She set the creature back down on the ground. Her expression was icy, entirely devoid of the warmth she had shown it earlier. Looking utterly heartbroken, the silver-horned creature scurried back into the old woman's arms, whining and seemingly scolding her. The old woman relented with a sigh. All right, I won't kill them. I'll spare their lives." "All of you get out of here. Do not ever return to the 10th floor and never set foot in my forbidden territory again." A massive wave of relief washed over the group. Their hearts, which had been pounding so hard they felt ready to burst, finally began to steady. Even the 3 nascent soul experts found their backs completely drenched in cold sweat. A ghostly wind swept past, sending a shiver down their spines. The master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion gave Liu Ruxue a grateful salute. "Thank you." Fairy Kainlin and Master Yunhuo looked at her with the same deep gratitude. If Liu Ruxue hadn't saved the life of this young master, they would all be dead right now, no question. Xia Keoj retrieved the jade box as well. "Thank you, junior sister Liu," he said. Fang Chen, more than anyone, was in shock. He stared at Liu Ruxue, his mind reeling. This had been the single most dangerous moment of his entire life. And the one who saved him, Liu Ruxue, the same Liu Ruxue who had fallen so far behind him on their path of cultivation. A profound sense of destiny washed over him, leaving a tangle of emotions in its wake. Liu Ruxue felt a wave of satisfaction she had never known before. She had finally been able to help her husband. She gave a gentle smile and turned to the little silver-horned creature. "Thank you, little one. May we meet again." With a small wave, she took Fang Chen's arm, and they turned to leave. The little silver-horned creature watched her go, its gaze filled with a desperate longing. When it had been at its weakest, Liu Ruxue had been the one to care for it so tenderly. It was the way a mother would care for her child. But its mother was long gone. It looked up at the old woman and chattered something in its strange tongue. The old woman replied, "You want her to stay. She's human. It would be nearly impossible for her to survive in a place so saturated with yin energy." The little silver-horned creature whined pleadingly, saying something more. The old woman looked troubled. There is a way. With the treasures our master left behind, it would be simple. And if you, the young master, give the command, this old servant cannot refuse. But it's up to her, isn't it? If we force her to stay, and she's miserable, how could she be a proper companion to you? The little silver, horned creature chirped insistently. With a sigh of resignation, the old woman called out, "Miss." Liu Ruxue turned, offering a polite, shallow bow. "Senior, how may I help you?" The old woman studied Liu Ruxue. She had a peaceful demeanor, gentle eyes, and a courteous way of speaking. Clearly, she came from a good upbringing among the humans. "I would like you to stay here and be its companion." Liu Ruxue's expression immediately turned troubled. How could she abandon Fang Chen to stay with a strange infant creature she had only just met? The creature was adorable, yes, and it was clearly grateful. She'd even grown fond of it, but it could never compare to Fang Chen. But she was terrified that refusing would anger the old woman and bring disaster down on Fang Chen. "I know this is a difficult choice," the old woman said, her voice tinged with envy, "but I would not ask you to stay with our young master for nothing. We can offer you a portion of our old master's legacy." She herself had never been worthy of even touching the master's treasures. And yet the young master was offering them to a mere human girl. "Old master?" Liu Ruxue repeated, confused. She had no real understanding of who this old woman, the silver, horned creature, or their so-called master even were. The old woman let out a dry chuckle. "What a naive little thing you are. Allow me to introduce myself. I am one of 10 servants who served the old master. My name is Yu, the Asura Lord. A being of my level, I believe you humans would grant me the title of Venerable One." The hearts of the 3 nascent soul realm experts hammered in their chests. They had suspected her true power, but to hear her confirm it herself sent a shockwave through them. The soul formation realm was the stuff of legends. Most nascent soul experts could live their entire lives without ever meeting one. And now one stood right before them. Since joining the Heavenly Secret Pavilion, Liu Ruxue had learned enough about the cultivation system to understand exactly what it meant to be called a Venerable One. Awe filled her, and she bowed again, much deeper this time. "Senior." The Asura Lord smiled kindly. "Don't be fooled by this old face. Once, in the Hell Realm, I was known as the Crimson-Handed Slayer. And my master, she was a legend who defined an entire era. If you were to receive even a fraction of her legacy, your future accomplishments would far surpass my own." A sudden, heavy silence fell. The pavilion master couldn't hide the shock in his eyes. If he was hearing this right, they were offering to raise Liu Ruxue to the soul formation realm. Very Kindlin bit her lip. She had always heard stories of those blessed by fate, a chosen few who stumbled upon opportunities so immense they were beyond the imagination of ordinary people. At best, they might stumble upon a stroke of luck and push their mediocre talents into the nascent soul realm. But compared to the fortune sitting right in front of Liu Ruxue, it wasn't even worth a mention. Good heavens, this woman had merely saved a young lord of the Asura clan, and now she was ascending the heavens in a single bound. No, she was ascending straight to godhood. It was enough to drive anyone mad with envy. Venerable Yun Huo's face twisted with a bitter smile. He felt the very foundations of his Tao heart crumbling. Half a lifetime of blood, sweat, and bitter cultivation couldn't compare to a single stroke of Liu Ruxue's sheer dumb luck. She was being handed a realm he could never hope to reach in this lifetime. Watching such a heaven-defying opportunity fall into someone else's lap, it was an unspeakably agonizing feeling. The Heavenly Secret Pavilion master, at least, could comfort himself with the fact that Liu Ruxue belonged to his faction. For the other two, however, it was a bitter pill to swallow. Liu Ruxue was equally shocked. She shot Fang Chen a desperate, questioning look. "Chen, what should I do?" Fang Chen was reeling himself. The soul formation realm, he hadn't even secured his path to the nascent soul realm yet. Reaching soul formation was an impossible pipe dream. Yet Liu Ruxue was being handed this exact opportunity on a silver platter, even if it would take her a long time to fully realize it. Suppressing his raging emotions, Fang Chen spoke up. "Senior Yu, are you certain you can keep this promise? How long will Ruxue need to stay? And will you force her to abandon her human identity, bind herself as a slave, or venture into lethal danger?" Asura Lord Yu glanced at Fang Chen and gave a slight nod. "No wonder Miss Liu seeks your counsel. Beyond respecting you as her husband, you possess a sharp, meticulous mind to rattle off so many critical questions in an instant. I can't explain it all in a few words. Come with me, I'll show you something that will answer your questions." Cradling the silver-horned alien child, she stepped onto the back of the colossal abyssal worm. All of you, come aboard. Pavilion Master, it is time your generation of humans learned a few truths. The Heavenly Secret Pavilion Master's heart skipped a beat. Without hesitation, the entire group stepped onto the back of the terrifying ninth-tier hellish creature. Massive wings beat against the wind with a deafening howl. In the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, the thousands of feet-long abyssal worm crossed the vast expanse of the 10th floor, arriving at its deepest reaches. This was a place deeper and darker than any forbidden zone. A gargantuan, pitch-black chasm stretched out before their eyes. Lethal arcs of black lightning crackled within the void. Terrifying, deep roars echoed from the depth, beasts matching the abyssal worm in sheer presence, sending chills down everyone's spines. The Pavilion Master stared into the yawning abyss, his voice tight. Senior Yu, what lies beneath? He already had a sinking suspicion. Asura Lord Yu replied coolly, "This is where the ancient saint you seek resides. Do you dare go down?" Cold sweat beaded on the Pavilion Master's forehead. This was absolutely not a place nascent soul realm cultivators could survive. Stepping inside meant certain death. How could they even dream of finding an ancient saint down there? Yet the weight of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion's millennial mission burned in his chest. Gritting his teeth, he actually felt the insane urge to jump. But Asura King Yu suddenly added, "I should clarify. I can't guarantee your ancient saint is actually down there. I can only guarantee that he isn't on this 10th floor. If he truly exists, he could only be on the next level down, or perhaps even deeper in an entirely unknown layer." A bitter smile formed on the Pavilion Master's lips. A crushing sense of powerlessness washed over him. Even at the height of its golden age, the Heavenly Secret Pavilion couldn't fully explore the 10th floor. What hope did they have for the 11th? And there was no guarantee the 11th floor held the answers. The ancient saint's very existence was still a complete mystery. The conviction that had driven him for years was on the verge of collapsing. Asura King Yu continued, "I've been wanting to tell you to stop wasting your energy. Unless a soul formation realm expert comes knocking, any attempt is utterly pointless." And honestly, even a soul formation expert isn't guaranteed to make it back alive. She had brought the Pavilion Master here for one reason, to completely shatter his resolve. She needed to stop him from sending more people into the subterranean world, lest these meddling outsiders put the young lord in danger again. The Pavilion Master stumbled back, slumping weakly onto a rock. He hung his head, his eyes vacant. All his former heroic vigor and calm composure had vanished, leaving him looking like a broken, failed scholar. In that single moment, he seemed to age a dozen years. Fairy Kynlin and Venerable Yun Huo looked at him with heartache, silently patting his shoulders in comfort. "Junior brother Tianju, you did everything you could," Fairy Kynlin said softly. "Our predecessors lived in a golden era, overflowing with resources that made the entire Great Taicang Prefecture envious, yet even they couldn't reach that step. Today, the Heavenly Secret Pavilion is teetering on the edge of ruin. How could you possibly finish what they started? Put down this burden. From now on, live for yourself." Venerable Yun Huo completely understood the Pavilion Master's state of mind. To shoulder a mission for your entire life, only to realize the goal was impossible all along, how could it not break a man? A flicker of pity crossed Fang Chen's eyes. This middle-aged man had bled his entire life for the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. He should have had a brilliant future. Instead, he sacrificed it all, standing a lonely vigil in the Heaven's Secret Pavilion for 20 years, only to end up with this. He approached the Pavilion Master and said, "Pavilion Master, I once swore to carry on the legacy of our predecessors. That vow still holds true. If I ever reach the ranks of the exalted in this lifetime, I will personally journey into the world below and find the answer you seek." Liu Ruxue stepped forward and took Fang Chen's hand, her grip firm. She nodded to the Pavilion Master. "And I will be right there with him." Zia Zheoj looked at Fang Chen, her voice steady, "As will I." The Pavilion Master raised his head, his gaze sweeping over the three young faces before him. The scene reminded him of another time, the old master on his deathbed, summoning him and his two martial siblings. But it was different. Back then, the old master was passing down a burden. Now, it was the next generation lifting him up, giving him the strength to continue. His eyes glistened as he slowly rose to his feet. "Good. Your generation is stronger than we ever were. If you refuse to stop, then how can I dare to?" A complex emotion crossed Asura King Ayu's face. Even she was moved by the sect's relentless obsession. "Are you really going to continue this futile quest into the world below?" The Pavilion Master considered this, then gave a slight shake of his head. "I will seal off the underworld." It is time for the Heaven's Secret Pavilion to forge a new path by relocating the entire sect to the Taicang Continent. A wave of shock rippled through the group. Relocate the entire sect to the Taicang Continent. That's a land where titans clash. It's incredibly dangerous. First of all, would the disciples even be willing? They'd have to give up the comfortable life of earning merit here to cross an ocean and start over from nothing. And secondly, all the prime spirit veins on the Taicang Continent have long been claimed. Even if we found a secluded spot, countless other powers would be eager to take a bite out of us. Not to mention all the unforeseen disasters. One wrong move and the Heaven's Secret Pavilion wouldn't just fail, it would shatter completely. Fang Chen's surprise lasted only a moment before he calmed himself. The Pavilion Master wasn't a man who acted on a whim or a flight of passion. He had to ask, "Pavilion Master, have you been planning this for a long time?" The Pavilion Master gathered himself, his composure returning. He gave a small, deliberate nod. "I began preparing for this 10 years ago. For 1,000 years, our sect has searched for answers and found none. It all boils down to one simple, undeniable fact. If we were strong enough, we would have conquered the 10th level long ago. Why else would we be stuck, unable to advance? And what we've seen today on the 11th level, it only drives the point home." Fang Chen considered it. Damn, he thought, he's absolutely right. All the excuses, the 10th level being too treacherous, a lack of allies or resources, the current generation not measuring up, they were all just superficial problems. The real issue, the core of it all, was strength. The Pavilion Master saw this clearly 10 years ago and began to prepare. Discovering the 11th level and the even greater dangers it held must have cemented his resolve. "I have already selected a new home for our sect. Now, all that remains is to lead our people to it." He's already chosen the location. He truly has prepared for everything. Fairy Qianlun's eyes brightened with excitement. "So, where is it?" she asked immediately. Perfected Yun Hyo grinned. "Right next door to our flame sect. I bet you're thrilled." A blush crept up Fairy Qianlun's cheeks as she shot him a sharp glare. "One of these days, I'm going to burn that tongue right out of your head." The Pavilion Master laughed. "That will remain a secret for now. But when the time comes to formally establish our new home, I hope my martial siblings will be there to celebrate with us." Fairy Qianlun nodded enthusiastically, her face full of anticipation. Wouldn't miss it for the world. A wide smile spread across Perfected Yunhyo's face. "Our sect is finally leaving this continent. As a disciple of old, how could I not be there to offer my congratulations?" A thrill of anticipation went through Fang Chen. Once the Heaven's Secret Pavilion moved to the Taicang Continent, they would be competing on the same stage as the great divine sects. He could only wonder what kind of fireworks that would create. Asura King Ayu gave a subtle nod of approval. The prospect of no longer having frequent visitors was certainly a welcome one. "When the time comes, if my young master permits it, Lady Liu can also attend the grand opening." Liu Ruxue was at a loss for words. She hadn't even agreed to stay here, and already her future was being planned for her. Sensing she might have been a bit too presumptuous, Asura King Ayu offered a smile. "Very well, let us begin to address your and your husband's reservations." With a flick of her sleeve, crimson motes of light sparked into existence high above the chasm. They danced and intertwined, weaving themselves into a complex, pulsating seal. This was the very seal that imprisoned the creatures of the 11th level, preventing them from rising. At the very heart of the seal hovered a silver coffin, and within it lay a corpse, so perfectly preserved it looked as if it were merely sleeping. The corpse had been dead for at least a millennium, yet it still radiated an oppressive energy that made one's very soul tremble. The sheer pressure it exuded was even more terrifying than that of Asura King Ayu. And this was just its corpse. If this being were still alive, what unimaginable terror would it command? Without a doubt, this was a being who had transcended the soul formation realm. "This was my former master," she said. "Even in death, her residual aura is enough to keep the innumerable creatures of this abyss in check." With such a legacy at her disposal, do you truly believe forging a new cultivator of the soul formation realm would be difficult? Asura King Ayu's gaze shifted to Fang Chen. "As for your concern about her losing her human identity, you need not worry. There is no need for her to transform into one of the Asura, unless she herself wishes to go further and become a being on par with my former master. And as for the length of her stay, that will depend entirely on the wishes of my young master and Lady Liu. If my young master grows tired of her company, or if Lady Liu simply no longer wishes to remain in this underworld. Companionship only works when both people are in it, otherwise it's just a slow form of torture. As for the whole master, servant thing. The young master genuinely likes Lady Liu. He isn't looking to exploit her. So you can relax. She'll be far safer here than in the outside world. Any other questions? Fang Chen let out a quiet sigh of relief. He'd already considered every possible angle. Now it all came down to Liu Ruxue. If she wasn't willing, he would never force her. Ruxue, what about you? What do you want? Liu Ruxue didn't hesitate for a second, nodding vigorously. Yes, I'm in. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Why would she ever pass it up? Once she became powerful enough, she could finally stand by Fang Chen's side and help him. Besides, she'd grown quite fond of this little silver-horned creature. Training while keeping it company didn't feel like a chore at all. It sounded a lot more relaxed than life back at the sect. The little silver-horned beast chirped happily, bouncing in King Ayu Asura's arms. A faint smile touched King Ayu Asura's lips. Good, then everyone is happy. Fang Chen looked at Liu Ruxue, his eyes filled with a heavy reluctance. Take care of yourself. Liu Ruxue gazed back at him tenderly. You're the one who needs to be careful and look after Xiling. Don't let her feel neglected. Chen Xiling had been with her through everything. They weren't blood sisters, but their bond was deeper than family. Aside from Fang Chen, Xiling was the only person she truly worried about. Fang Chen gave a slight nod. Don't worry, I'll look after her. Then Fang Chen bowed respectfully to King Ayu Asura. Senior, I entrust my wife to your care. If I achieve greatness in the future, I will surely repay this debt. King Ayu Asura studied him. The two of you share such a deep bond, yet here I am forcing you apart. It almost feels like a sin. Let me give you something as compensation. Give me your hand. Confused, Fang Chen reached out. King Ayu Asura grasped his palm. A split second later, a surge of unknown, overwhelming power flooded into his body. Inside his dantian, his black golden core expanded violently, skyrocketing from the first level all the way to the 9th level of the golden core realm before finally stabilizing. Feeling the violent upheaval inside him, Fang Chen's heart leaped into his throat. He was terrified the black core might actually burst. King Ayu Asura withdrew her hand. To be able to cultivate a second golden core, you are truly blessed by fate. I've given you a head start. I've saved you the years of grinding for that second core. Reaching full completion is up to you now. Fang Chen was overwhelmed with gratitude. He hadn't even dared to hope he could bring his second golden core to completion. Bringing his first core to the 9th level had drained nearly all his energy. He simply had no time left to focus on a second one. He never expected King Ayu Asura to step in and push his second golden core straight to the 9th level. With this, his chances of breaking into the nascent soul realm with twin golden cores were now incredibly high. Of course, this was only possible because the black core wasn't actually his primary golden core. Otherwise, such a brute force power-up would have left his foundation dangerously unstable. Under the pressure of a heavenly tribulation, a core that wasn't properly tempered would have shattered instantly. Thank you for your help, Senior, Fang Chen said, bowing low. This was, without question, the greatest windfall of his entire journey. But one lingering threat remained. After a moment of thought, Fang Chen asked, Senior, a noble named Kui Xing hunted me down all the way here. He said he needed my lightning-based secret techniques. His soul is still trapped on the 10th floor. Could he be a threat to the young master or Ruxue? King Ayu Asura's aged eyes flickered. Lightning techniques? He's an Asura. What use does he have for lightning? She paused, pondering. Do you know exactly where he is right now? The underworld was about to seal shut, and she refused to leave any loose ends or potential dangers behind. Fang Chen shook his head at first. But King Ayu Asura glanced at his chest. You're carrying something of his. Let me see it. Fang Chen blinked in surprise, then remembered. He reached into his robes and pulled out a jade box. Inside was a pitch-black needle, like insect. Senior, do you mean this? King Ayu Asura took it. This is a bloodworm from the bloodthirsty Asura clan. With this, tracking Kui Xing will be easy. She closed her eyes, gripping the bloodworm, as she reached out with her senses. A moment later, her eyes snapped open, radiating a sharp, icy chill. He's got some nerve, heading in there. Wait here, I'll be back in a flash. The 10th level, the far east. Towering stone monuments stood like ancient monoliths, their surfaces etched with jagged, infernal script in dried black blood. Asura, heavenly king, ravager of the barren lands. God of war of the blood hell, Nai Jiayu. Shadow, bodhisattva of the infinite case, Itagarbha. In the cemetery, Kui Xing's soul drifted past the monuments, a trace of grief etched on his face. 1,000 years later, and you're all gone. Only I remain, barely clinging to life in the Middle Lands. Can anyone tell me why it had to end like this? A simple struggle for the Hell Soul Bell. How did it escalate into a cross-realm war? In the end, you provoked the ancient saint of the Middle Lands, and she slaughtered every last one of you. He whispered his laments as he walked on in silence. He eventually reached the heart of the graveyard, standing before a massive tomb that dominated the landscape. Carved into the 30-foot tall stone were ancient words Asura Emperor Dongfang Canyu. He stared at the name. Unable to hold back any longer, he collapsed to his knees, tears streaming down his face. Lord Dongfang, Kui Xing, has returned. I didn't fail you. I successfully escorted the Asura saint out of the underworld. He is magnificent. His talent eclipses even your own, and he has become a top-tier powerhouse in the Middle Lands. No one suspects his true nature. The people there respect him. They see him as the pride of the Middle Lands. Given time, he will surpass everyone and become the new saint of the Middle Lands. Everything is going exactly as you planned. The only setback was that we lost the prison, suppressing soul scripture. That ancient saint was simply too powerful. Countless numbers of us hid in the caves, but with a single thought, she plunged every living being in the underworld into a deep slumber. By the time I woke up, centuries had passed. My comrades had all rotted away in their sleep. Only the saint and I survived. The Asura king who guarded the scripture is dead as well. The book has vanished. But rest assured, the saint has been moving his pawns over the years, scouring the underworld for that ancient text. If it resurfaces, it will find its way back to him. Kui Xing continued to recount his long journey in a low voice. After a long while, he wiped his eyes and hesitantly reached out to touch the tombstone. The moment his fingers grazed the stone, a terrifying burst of yin energy erupted, blasting him backward. The disturbance in the tomb triggered a chain reaction in the surrounding graves. Volleys of yin energy surged into the sky, unleashing a suffocating power that blotted out the world. Thud, a gray-robed figure suddenly flickered into existence before the Asura Emperor's grave. It was Asura King Ayu. With a light tap of her foot, the violent energy throughout the cemetery was instantly quelled. She turned slowly, her gaze cold and indifferent as she looked at Kui Xing. Such pretty words, but in the end, you just wanted a taste of Dongfang Canyu's essence blood, didn't you? You wanted to drain his remains to force a breakthrough into the Asura King realm. Kui Xing's expression tightened. I would never dare, he stammered respectfully. Is that so? Ayu said flatly. Then why hunt for humans skilled in lightning techniques? You were looking for a way to suppress the yin energy in this tombstone. Panic flared in Kui Xing's chest. You misunderstand. I had other uses for them. Ayu looked right through him. I wondered how an Asura could still be alive after 1,000 years. So, Dongfang Canyu sent his son to the Middle Lands and made him a powerhouse. He must have used his immense power and some secret technique to shield you from the rot of time. Kui Xing kept his head bowed, masking his every emotion. Senior, he said, would you like to meet the Asura Saint? He would be overjoyed to know a fellow clansman still lives. Asura King Ayu let out a cold, mocking laugh. My old master and Dongfang Canyu were the ones who tore a hole between worlds over that Hell Soul Bell. That's how we ended up in the Middle Lands in the first place. Her son, the one rumored to carry a trace of the Dark God's bloodline. You really think he's going to treat me well? Isn't he afraid I'll expose him as a creature of the Hell Realm right in front of the entire human race? If he knew I was here, he'd be itching to silence me for good. A cold sweat broke out across Kui Xing's face, his expression twisting into pure terror. He scrambled to his defense. Senior, I swear on the heavenly Tao, I will never reveal that you're here. The Ayu Asura King strolled over, her voice deadly calm. Exposing me means nothing. My flame is already burning out. I don't have many years left to live anyway. But if you expose the young master, I'd have no face left to meet my old master in the afterlife. Hearing that, Kui Xing didn't dare linger for a single second. With a sharp whoosh, he tore into the void, vanishing without a trace. The Ayu Asura King simply raised her eyes to the distant sky. She reached out and made a light grasping motion. Instantly, Kui Xing's soul tumbled out of the void, pinned tight in midair by an invisible, crushing force. Kui Xing was scared out of his mind. Spare me, Senior. We're both from the Hell Realm. Please, let me go. Killing me won't do you any good. Good, the Asura King mused lightly. Maybe not before, but now, the young master has a new playmate. I think I'll just brew your soul into a pot of wine. It'll be a nice little boost for her soul power." The moment the words left her mouth, Kui Xing's spirit began to violently dissolve. Furious and terrified, Kui Xing roared, "Ayu Asura King, I'm a founding loyalist to the Holy Sun. If he finds out you killed me, he'll never let you get away with this." The Asura King's eyes narrowed into dangerous slits. "So, you knew who I was this whole time. It seems you've been harboring some treacherous schemes. Thank the heavens Fang Chen warned me. If I had actually let you slip away, it would have been an absolute disaster. In that case, I'll just have to serve him a cup of your soul wine as a reward." "Fang Chen, it's always Fang Chen," Kui Xing shrieked, his face twisting with pure malice. "Fang Chen, you absolute jinx." Back by the edge of the Abyssachu, Fang Chen let out a sudden sneeze. He rubbed his nose, looking confused. "Who's out there thinking about me?" Liu Ruxue rolled her eyes at him. "Well, it definitely isn't me. If it's not Liu Qingxian, it's gotta be you Mingzhu." Fang Chen flashed a teasing grin. "Or maybe someone's just cursing my name." Liu Ruxue scoffed. "If they knew I wasn't glued to your side right now, they'd be over the moon, wouldn't they? And I'm sure whatever other mystery women you've got stashed away would be secretly thrilled, too. Isn't that right, Senior Sister Zia?" Hearing mystery women had already sent a spike of guilt through Zia Keoj. Being called out of nowhere made her jump, her small hands clenching tight in sheer panic. She nodded frantically. Right, definitely." Her mind went completely blank. For a second, she was dead sure Liu Ruxue was talking specifically about her. Thankfully, the Ayu Asura King returned carrying a jug of wine, shattering the awkward tension. She touched down right in front of Fang Chen. "Thank you for the heads up. We just eliminated a rather massive threat." Fang Chen let out a quiet sigh of relief. If a formidable soul like Kui Xing ever got the chance to possess a body and be reincarnated, it would have been a catastrophic headache. Thank the heavens it was dealt with. Still, seeing her return empty-handed left him a little bummed. It would have been great if she'd just handed the soul over to him instead. His fate-altering jade butterfly was literally starving for a high-quality soul after all. But speaking of threats that suddenly jogged his memory, he had a ticking time bomb of his own to deal with. It was time to pull the plug on it. "Senior," Fang Chen began, "I have something rather unruly locked away on me. I was hoping you might stand guard. If I can't handle it, I'd need you to suppress it for me." He was, of course, talking about that little traitorous beast. The creature was a living, breathing descendant of a true spirit. A true spirit wasn't just any demonic beast, it was an entity on the level of a great sage. With its direct bloodline, incubating inside that egg for God knows how long, there was no telling how dangerous the thing was going to be. It was incredibly rare to meet a friendly expert at the soul formation realm, if he didn't ask for her help now. What was he waiting for? The Asura King offered a faint smile. "There's no rush. Have a drink first. Your little warning saved the young master, and I a massive headache. Consider this my way of treating you." She swirled the jug in her hand. Instantly, an incredibly pure wave of soul energy wafted through the air, sending a refreshing jolt straight to everyone's minds. Fairy Kyanlin looked on, a trace of visible envy in her eyes. This was the fabled soul wine of the Hell Realm, a horrifying process of distilling a living soul into a potent brew. Only an elite few in the underworld possessed the talent to create it. Downing a cup of this vintage would directly boost one's soul power. Fang Chen secretly clicked his tongue. Underworld creatures don't mess around, he thought. Their methods were brutal back in the human territories. This would absolutely be condemned as a demonic, forbidden art. But morality aside, this wine was a ridiculously rare treasure. Being able to directly buff your soul power was a totally game-breaking cheat. If he had known he'd get to drink something like this, he never would have bothered hunting down the jade paper heavenly book in the first place. "Thank you, Senior," Fang Chen replied, not one to stand on ceremony. Asura King Ayu glanced at Fairy Kyanlin and the others. "Since you are Fang Chen's elders, take a seat. Soul wine is too potent to consume in large quantities. Splitting one pot among us is perfect." Fairy Kyanlin and Venerable Yunhuo were thrilled. Once again, they were reaping the benefits of Fang Chen's connections. Yun Tianju's disciple was an absolute lucky charm. The group returned to the Forbidden Grounds, arriving before the mysterious, immaculate, holy altar. Fang Chen couldn't hold back his curiosity. "Senior, what exactly is this immaculate holy altar? Why does it have battle scars all over it?" "It was my old master's magical artifact," Asura King Ayu replied casually. It possesses the power to shatter the barrier between realms. What? Fang Chen, the pavilion master, and the others were completely stunned. Shatter the barrier between realms. Didn't that mean this artifact could tear open the Hell Realm and unleash demonic entities upon them? Ancient giants in front of them, creatures of hell behind them, they suddenly felt very exposed in their seats. Asura, King Ayu laughed. Don't worry. You'd need the overwhelming power of an Asura Emperor to even activate it. Her smile suddenly faltered. That Asura Holy Son, he actually had the power to activate it, didn't he? Thankfully, he was too terrified of the continent's ancient saints to step foot into the subterranean world himself. At that thought, she breathed a quiet sigh of relief. Pouring out several cups of wine, she added, "What's good wine without a feast to match?" With a wave of her hand, a thunderous rumble echoed outside the forbidden grounds, and an entire vegetable garden came flying through the air. Fang Chen took one look, and his face turned a guilty shade of green. He immediately played it cool, striking up a casual conversation with Liu Ruxue. Asura King Ayu chuckled softly. I tend to this garden myself. Though the crops absorb a massive amount of yin energy, they also hold potent cultivation, boosting properties. Eat in moderation, and the benefits far outweigh the risks. Oh, really? The pavilion master and the others peered over with eager curiosity. Now that they were in the nascent soul realm, the negative side effects of yin energy were negligible. Even if it accumulated in their bodies, they could easily purge it. To them, these vegetables were pure supplements with zero downsides. They could definitely afford to indulge. Bringing the floating garden to a halt right in front of them, Asura King Ayu smiled. I grow a wide variety of vegetables. Take your pick. You can even pack some to go when we're done. Her smile instantly vanished. The pavilion master and the other two exchanged bewildered looks. The garden was completely barren. Where were the vegetables? Who stole my crops? Asura King Ayu muttered, dumbfounded. Fang Chen immediately piped up. Well, you can rule me out. I swear on my life, whoever ate those veggies is going to break out in toxic boils, have their tongue rot off, and suffer explosive diarrhea. Zia Keoj, who knew exactly what had happened, desperately struggled to keep a straight face. Inside, she was dying of laughter. Oh, Marshal Uncle, you're truly something else. The pavilion master hurriedly clarified, it wasn't the three of us either. This is our first time anywhere near the forbidden grounds. Liu Ruxue chimed in. Could it be that Kui Xing guy my husband mentioned? He's so wicked, it had to be him. Asura King Ayu gave a slight, solemn nod. It could only be him. That cursed bastard, he had completely humiliated her in front of her human guests. She pulled out a platter of fruit to replace the missing crops, clearing her throat awkwardly. Let's use spirit fruits as appetizers instead. The group couldn't wait any longer and eagerly downed their wine. The moment the liquid hit his stomach, Fang Chen felt his newly awakened soul power surging wildly. After just a few cups, the amplification of his soul power was even stronger than reading 2 scrolls of the Jade Heavenly Tome. Before long, his power subtly grazed the peak of a 1. Aperture Nascent Soul. If he could just down 1 more cup, breaking through to a 2 aperture, Nascent Soul would be a breeze. 3 cups are your absolute limit, Asura King Ayu said, setting down her own cup. This is a foreign soul power, and you need time to properly absorb it. Drink any more, and your consciousness will descend into chaos. The others reluctantly put down their cups, clearly left wanting more. The undeniable gleam of joy in their eyes proved their soul power had grown by leaps and bounds. Zia Keoj, in particular, couldn't hide her radiant excitement. Her soul power had most likely just shattered the bottleneck into the nascent soul realm. Fang Chen, you mentioned earlier that you had something restless on you. What is it? Take it out and let me see, Asura King Ayu requested. Fang Chen perked up immediately. Just a moment, Senior. I'll bring it right out. With a single thought, his consciousness manifested in front of the massive eggshell of the little traitor. Little traitor, do you have the true spirit blood ready? The little traitor maintained its overly sycophantic tone. Big brother, you're finally here. I've had it ready for you this whole time. Fang Chen nodded. Hand it over. But the little traitor whined, Big brother, I have a tiny favor to ask. Could you let me outside? It's been so long since I've seen the sunlight. Pretty please. It sounded like a pleading toddler, but internally it was cackling with malice. Heh, you little bloodsucker, your doomsday is here. I've hoarded enough power to shatter this shell. Prepare to tremble in fear. Fang Chen smiled. It was a warm, friendly smile, making him look exactly like an accommodating big brother. Why didn't you say so earlier? Letting you out is a piece of cake. Close your eyes. I'm bringing you out right now. He withdrew his consciousness from his spatial storage, taking a few steps back to ensure there was plenty of distance between himself and the rest of the group. With a mere flicker of intent, a massive dull grey egg, as large as a boulder, materialized out of thin air right in the middle of the room. The little traitor realized he was actually being set free, and his heart leaped with joy. I'm finally out. You little leech, it's time for some payback. With that thought, he unleashed his pent-up power, slamming it hard against the eggshell. Crack, with a violent snap, the massive egg, which had endured for at least a millennium, finally split in two. A fragrant white mist billowed from the shell, and through the haze, a chubby little black shadow, about the size of a killin cub, stood upright on two legs. With its arms crossed and legs braced, the creature projected an aura of absolute dominance. It threw its head back and roared with laughter. I'm finally free. Ha ha ha. 1,000 years, I, Ahan, have finally descended upon this world. No one shall ever look down on me again. From this day forth, I will silence every voice that dares to oppose me. Every soul that ever wronged me will spend the rest of their lives in absolute regret. It pointed a finger toward the heavens, laughing, before snapping its gaze toward Fang Chen. Fang Chen, you little leech, you'll be the first one to live in regret. As the white mist cleared, the true form of this legendary scion, who spoke as if he owned the universe, was finally revealed. It was a tiny toddler, barely 1.5 feet tall. He had shimmering teal scales, 2 little dragon horns on his head, and thin golden whiskers twitching at the corners of his mouth. Calling him a baby was an understatement. He was completely naked, save for a cloth diaper wrapped around his pudgy little bottom. His round, chubby face was set in a dead, serious expression. He pointed a tiny dragon claw at Fang Chen, his emerald eyes bulging as he tried his best to look intimidating. You damn leech, do you have any idea what I've been through? The agony, the number of times I've ripped you apart in my head. Do you? Fang Chen shook his head. Nope, not a clue. The little brat huffed. Then do you know where you messed up? Your first mistake was ever crossing me. A powerful surge of energy radiated from his tiny body, the unmistakable aura of a one-aperture demon emperor. See this. This is the demon emperor realm. I could poke 81 holes in you with a single finger. Are you scared yet? Fang Chen shook his head again. Not really. I've got backup. Ahan burst out laughing. Backup? Who could possibly protect you from me? Not even the gods themselves could save you now. Fang Chen's lip twitched. Hey brat, maybe you should look around before you keep talking. Others, I don't care who else is here. He looked around, only to realize a group of people were closing in, staring at him like he was a main attraction. Still acting tough, the little guy kept his arms crossed, his tiny body radiating an arrogant, world-defying attitude. I, Ahan, do not slay nobodies. State your names. Master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion 1, Aperture Nascent Soul Realm Yun Tianju. A human nascent soul cultivator. Ahan's chin, previously held high, dipped just a fraction. A 1 aperture nascent soul, nothing special. Fairy Kyanlin eyed him. Fire worship sect 2 aperture nascent soul realm. Ahan shivered. His crossed arms involuntarily dropped to his sides. 2 aperture? You think that's impressive? You, the guy next to her, stop looking around and give me your name. Master Yunhyo pointed to himself. Me, fire worship sect 2 aperture nascent soul realm, got a problem. Ahan's pupils constricted, his tiny frame beginning to tremble. Another 2 aperture nascent soul. When did this little leech get surrounded by so many nascent soul masters? He swallowed hard. I wasn't talking to you. I mean that old hag in grey. I've hated your face from the second I saw it. What are you smirking at? If you've got the guts, give me your name and fight me one-on-one. King Asura gave a raspy chuckle. I am King Asura, Soul Formation Realm. Soul Formation. Ahan's eyes went wide with terror. He stumbled back and collapsed onto his butt, his face pale and drenched in sweat as his brain went completely numb. What is happening? Will somebody tell me what's going on? Why is there a soul formation master here? Who am I? What is happening to the world? He looked at the broken eggshell and started scrambling back toward it. The world is too dangerous. I'm going back inside. He hadn't crawled 2 steps before someone blocked his path. It was the little leech, wearing a mocking grin. So, this is what you look like. Fang Chen pinched the boy's chubby cheek. Now, what was that you called me earlier? Ahan's god-like act vanished instantly. His eyes welled up with tears, looking utterly pathetic. I called you big brother, obviously. Fang Chen patted the back of its head with a half smile. Tell me again, what exactly have you been up to these past few days? The little backstabber hugged Fang Chen's hand, rubbing its chubby cheek against his palm. I drink water essence every day, I sleep when I'm full, and eat when I wake up. Big brother cares about me and protects me. I'm living my best life every single day. Fang Chen pinched its little nose, laughing despite himself. Didn't you just ask if I knew what I did wrong? Why don't you tell me? What was my mistake? The little traitor put on a pitiful face, crying out in a milky, childish voice. How could Big Brother ever be wrong? Obviously, the only one at fault here is me. This little punk, he flipped his attitude faster than turning a page. Senior Ayu, bring out some more wine. We'll roast this true spirit descendant and use him as a bar snack. The little backstabber nearly lost its soul in pure terror. It desperately clung to Fang Chen's arm. Big brother, I really know I was wrong. Have mercy. I'll give you true spirit blood. I'll give you magical artifacts. Just please don't eat me. Fat tears rolled down its cheeks as it begged. Fang Chen didn't buy a word of it. This little traitor was incredibly cunning, trusting it was a fool's errand. Still threatening to eat it was just a bluff. At the end of the day, the true spirit blood and the magical artifacts it had provided were a massive help. He had to give it at least some credit for that. Senior Ayu, what should we do with this true spirit descendant? Do you have any suggestions? Killing it felt like a waste, but keeping it alive meant dealing with an uncontrollable wild card. Give this little backstabber even an inch, and it would absolutely bite the hand that fed it. Asura King Ayu studied the creature with deep interest. Her weathered hand swept over its body, a flicker of awe flashing in her eyes. Such a pure, true spirit physique. It has inherited at least 40% of its mother's core essence. That's significantly more bloodline purity than even our young master received from his. Given time, it will undoubtedly grow into a great sage-level entity. She paused, mulling it over. Fang Chen, are you bold enough to keep a true spirit as a pet? Fang Chen blinked in surprise, pointing at the little traitor. You want me to keep him? This little punk spent his entire time inside the egg plotting my murder. Keeping it around, unthinkable. I have zero doubt that if I ever fell into a pit, not only would it refuse to pull me out, it would actively hunt for a lid to trap me inside. Asura King Ayu chuckled. Naturally, I have a way to ensure its absolute obedience. Among the legacy left behind by my old master, there is a secret technique specifically designed for enslaving living souls. Great sages of the human race, true spirits of demonic beasts, heavenly emperors of the underworld, all of them can be bound. Even true spirits could be enslaved. Fang Chen had to admit, the methods of the underworld were as dominating as they were wicked. He wasn't about to say no to that. Fang Chen nodded eagerly. If it can be fully bound, why wouldn't I dare? You aren't afraid of its clan coming after you? Asura King Ayu asked, her tone laden with meaning. Fang Chen stared down at the little backstabber. If it had any family left, it wouldn't have been trapped beneath the ancient capital of the 9 dynasties for over 1,000 years. A spirit pet with the potential to become a full-fledged true spirit. There was simply no reason to turn that down. I will help you bind it, but your wife must first master the enslavement art from the old master's legacy. If you aren't comfortable keeping this true spirit descendant with you right now, you can leave it here. It won't be able to cause any trouble on my watch. In other words, it couldn't happen immediately. It would take some time. Fang Chen had no objections. He cupped his fists in respect. Then I'll leave it in your capable hands, senior, and I'll be troubling you too, Ruxue. Liu Ruxue was already looking forward to studying the Asura Emperor's legacy. Hearing that she could directly help Fang Chen only fueled her motivation. Don't worry, husband. I will do everything in my power to help you bind this little true spirit. Hearing this, the little traitor's eyes welled up with tears. It's over. It's completely over. If it had known this would happen, it would have just stayed inside its damn egg. Fang Chen smirked, giving its head a condescending pat. Weren't you just calling me big brother so sweetly? Pretty soon, you'll get to call me that forever. Why, the little backstabber totally broke down, bawling its eyes out. Still smiling, Fang Chen casually pricked the creature's tiny finger, squeezing out the very last drop of true spirit blood he needed. All right, I just need your true spirit blood this time. You can keep your magical artifacts. That somewhat eased the little traitor's despair. Its wailing slowly subsided into sniffles. Then Fang Chen added the killing blow. After all, pretty soon, both you and your artifacts will belong to me anyway. Why, the little backstabber shrieked, crying harder than ever. With that hidden threat neutralized, Fang Chen felt a massive weight lift off his shoulders. Cultivate well, Ruxue, he said, taking her hands for a final goodbye. Tears shimmered in Liu Ruxue's crystalline eyes. Please be careful out there, husband. Reluctant to part, the two finally waved goodbye. Half a day later, Fang Chen and the Pavilion Master arrived back at the teleportation array. The Pavilion Master of Heavenly Secrets looked like he had shed a massive burden. Standing on the array, he glanced back at the 10th floor, a faint trace of melancholy in his eyes. This was the very battleground where countless of his ancestors had fought and bled. Who knew how many years it would be before he ever returned? To the heroic souls of our predecessors, the sky, boat will return one day. With a deep bow, he activated the formation. Fang Chen gazed toward the forbidden grounds, his eyes reflecting a silent prayer of good fortune. Sister Liu Ruxue wants to know if you're still planning to hit up that hidden space, the one with the spatial magical artifact and the puppet blueprint. If we leave now, that chance is gone forever. Fang Chen considered it for a moment before shaking his head. Forget it, let's leave some mysteries for the future. Besides, someone as sharp as Wu Manyu would definitely realize that returning to the 9th and 10th levels wouldn't be a walk in the park. Even if there were treasures left, she'd likely already stripped the place bare. Hearing the little Killen's report, Liu Ruxue curled her lip and muttered under her breath. What a shame, I was hoping to use you to retrieve the other half of that tiger tally. Tiger tallies always came in pairs. Only by forging the two halves together could one command an army of thousands. Even the creatures of hell would be forced to bow before a complete tiger tally, not daring to disobey, including the entities on the 11th level. Still shaken, the Vice Pavilion Master, the managers, and the surviving disciples gathered around. Many were badly injured. Others had perished entirely just by brushing against the black crystals. The cost of this expedition had been devastating. Taking in the grim sight, the Heavenly Secret Pavilion Master solidified his resolve. The Heavenly Secret Pavilion must change. With everyone gathered, he took a deep breath and made his announcement. I have two things to tell you all. First, effective immediately, the underground world is permanently sealed. Our sect's mission to explore its depths is officially over. The crowd erupted into an absolute uproar. Several unassuming disciples slipped into the shadows, silently transmitting this massive intel to the outside world. Second, we are relocating the entire sect to the Taicang Great Province. Those willing to follow me and start over are welcome to stay. If you choose not to, I will grant you a generous severance from the vault. You have until sunset to make your choice. This sudden bombshell sent a shockwave through the members of the pavilion. Most of them couldn't even process what it meant. Only a sharp few understood the bitter truth. The old Heavenly Secret Pavilion was effectively disbanding. Suppressing his own heavy emotions, the Pavilion Master added, furthermore, the merit points earned during this expedition remain valid. You may all head to the vault and trade your points for whatever resources you need. With that, he escorted Fairy Qianlin and Lord Yunhuo away. Fang Chen didn't waste a single second. He made a beeline straight for the treasure vault. The same manager from his last visit was guarding the entrance. Seeing Fang Chen, he offered a small smile. You again, what are you looking to trade for this time? Fang Chen handed over his disciple token. I actually don't know how many points I have. Could you run a quick check for me? He had explored 3 cave mansions on the 9th level, plus the 10,000 points for tracking the demonic beasts. It should total close to 20,000. Then there was the 10th level. He'd trekked through countless uncharted zones, so the payout from that alone had to be massive. The manager chuckled, shaking his head. Just how many hidden spaces did you stumble into to lose track of your own points? Still smiling, he took the token and slotted it into an indented jade scanner. A string of numbers slowly materialized. It started with a 1, followed by an endless stream of zeros that kept scrolling until it flooded the entire jade surface, completely maxing out the display. The manager blinked. He picked up the token and rescanned it. Same result. What the hell? Is the scanner busted? Just then, the Pavilion Master, Fairy Qianlin, and Lord Yunhuo strolled in, having wrapped up their private discussion. Is the scanner broken? The manager quickly demonstrated the glitch. Seeing the endless zeros, the 3 leaders visibly twitched. The Pavilion Master sighed. The scanner isn't broken. Fang Chen just broke our entire merit point system. By the sect's rules, discovering even a modest spatial zone netted 3,000 points. Fang Chen had literally slaughtered his way from the forbidden grounds to the formation, crossed half the 10th level, pushed to the absolute core, and practically mapped the entire floor. The amount of uncharted territory he'd logged was astronomical. Don't even bother scanning his token, the Pavilion Master said helplessly. Just let him take whatever he wants. He could empty the entire vault, and he'd still have points left over. Fairy Kaienlin suddenly panicked. She had seen Fang Chen extract the traitor's essence blood with her own eyes, meaning he clearly knew its immense value. For all she knew, he was gunning for the vial of true spirit blood right now. With that terrifying thought, she plastered on a sickly, sweet smile, the kind an adult uses to trick a kid out of their candy. Fang Chen, dear, how about I trade you my insights on the Kaienlin true fire art, and you let me pick my items first? What do you say? Sect rules dictated that the person with the highest points had first dibs on the loot. If she wanted to snag the true spirit blood, she had no choice but to stoop to bribing this kid. Fang Chen blinked. Insights on the Azure Flame true fire art. Why would I need those? I can just cultivate it myself. A muscle in Fairy Kaienlin's eye twitched. You little brat, we get it, you're a genius, no need to rub it in. She held a strained, foxy smile. You've only scratched the surface. To truly master it, you'll still need my insights. Nope, don't need him, Fang Chen said. I've already reached the initial mastery stage. He pressed his palms together, and when he pulled them apart, a small, blood-red lotus bloomed in his hands, identical to the one Liu Yingshuang had summoned. Even the Heavenly Secret's Pavilion Master raised an eyebrow. That ball of Asura karmic fire, you've already refined it, so quickly. Perfected Yunhuo was stunned. That's the initial mastery stage, isn't it? It's only been a few days. Fairy Kaienlin's eyes went wide, her expression one of utter disbelief. Why? You really reached initial mastery. It took me years to get to this stage. Fang Chen scratched his head. I'm not sure how it happened. I just practiced a little, and well, here we are. Senior Kaienlin, he added, you're not going to need to. Step away and calm down again, are you? Fairy Kaienlin's composure was already starting to crack. His words made it snap. She realized he was deliberately pushing her buttons. You little punk. Is reaching initial mastery really that impressive? If you've got the nerve, let's see whose flame is stronger. Instantly, the lotus in Fang Chen's palm erupted, swelling to 10 times its original size. The power radiating from it felt even more potent than Fairy Kaienlin's own. This was thanks to the Asura karmic fire he'd absorbed from the wild boar. After all, Fairy Kaienlin didn't have a loyal pack of spirit beasts to hunt down rare flames for her. The crimson flames cast a glow on Fairy Kaienlin's stunned face, her cheeks flushing a deep red. It took her a long moment to recover. She bit her lip, her body trembling with a mixture of rage and disbelief. I risked my life to obtain the Azure Flame Truefire art, and you've mastered it better than I have. Tanju, do something about him. You have to. He's doing this just to spite me. The Pavilion Master rubbed his nose, admitting to himself that this was a pretty crushing blow to anyone's ego. Fang Chen, go on and make your selections, and stop provoking Senior Kaienlin. Fang Chen gave a slight bow. Yes, Master, Senior Kaienlin, I'll take my leave then. I'm off to claim that vial of true spirit blood. With a faint smirk, he quickly made his exit. He didn't need to guess he knew the only reason Fairy Kaienlin had finagled her way into getting first pick was for that priceless vial of true spirit blood. Already fuming, Fairy Kaienlin absolutely lost it when she heard that. Yun Tanju, look at your disciple. He's doing it on purpose. You have to control him. The Pavilion Master gave an awkward laugh. How am I supposed to do that? He hasn't broken any rules. Fang Chen had truly pushed Fairy Kaienlin over the edge. If you won't, then I will. Perfected Yunhuo cleared his throat. Junior sister, calm down. He's a disciple of the Heavenly Secret's Pavilion. You have no authority over him. Now, if you were to become the Pavilion Master's wife one day, perhaps then you could. She shot him a glare, then her eyes, practically spitting fire, followed Fang Chen's retreating form into the Treasury. You little brat, one day, I'll find a way to get you under my thumb, just you wait. First thing Fang Chen claimed was the vial of true spirit blood. After that, he took all the single-use nascent soul, level attack talismans and arrows, 3 arrows and 10 jade talismans. Fang Chen left the rest untouched. The sect would need vast resources, both for the disciples who were leaving and for re-establishing themselves in the great Taicang Continent. He only took what he truly needed. He then went to the team vault. Last time he had only taken 2 of the bright light brocade robes. This time, he claimed the remaining 5. With his selections complete, he finally left the Treasury. When he emerged, Fairy Kaienlin was waiting for him, arms crossed and a frosty expression on her face. She was tapping her foot impatiently on the ground, making it perfectly clear she was still furious. Fang Chen just smiled, took out the vial of true spirit blood, and poured half of it into a separate container. Based on his experience with the divine elephant cultivation method, half a vial was more than enough for him. He could probably use it 10 times over. He tossed the other half to Fairy Kaienlin. A flash of delight crossed her face and she reached out to catch it, but at the last second, Fang Chen changed its trajectory, sending it to Perfected Yunhuo instead. He'd still given it to them, but the little prank undoubtedly sent Fairy Kyanlan's temper flaring right back up. "You little punk! Fine, you want to provoke me, is that it? Just wait until we get to the great Taicang Continent. We'll see how I deal with you then." "I refuse to believe I can't find a way to rein you in," she ground her teeth in frustration. Perfected Yun Huo held the true spirit blood with a look of pleasant surprise. This was more than enough for both him and his junior sister. But his delight quickly turned to a look of shame. "Fang Chen, not only did you save our lives, but we also had the chance to taste that soul wine because of you. And now this, half a vial of true spirit blood. Is there anything at all that we can do for you in return?" Fang Chen's eyes lit up, and he answered without hesitation. "Actually, yes. Could I ask you two seniors to remain on this continent for a few more days? In a few days, there's a situation where I'll need some authoritative backup. With 2 Aperture, nascent soul realm experts present, even the Azure Sky Demon Emperor wouldn't dare interfere with consort Yunxia and Hami's tribulation. Plus, if things go wrong, you could save them." At his words, Perfected Yunhuo and Fairy Kyanlan exchanged a look, a hint of trouble in their eyes. "Fang Chen, it's nothing personal, but I'm afraid staying for a few more days will be very difficult for us." It was Fairy Kyanlan who spoke. Annoyed as she was with him, she was still grateful enough to explain personally. "The emergence of the heaven, connecting Black Pillar, has caused an ancient path to heaven to appear in the skies above our great Taicang Continent. Some have seen legendary, wondrous sights at its end. Right now, all the major divine sects are gearing up to explore it. We've already been away from our fire worship sect for too long, and our elders are growing impatient. I'm afraid we simply can't stay." The ancient path to heaven, another phenomenon caused by the heaven, connecting Black Pillar. This was the third strange event he knew of connected to it, Liu Xian's teachings in his dreams, the black crystal on the 9th floor of the second trial. And now this ancient path, the pillar, was becoming more and more of a mystery. Why did its appearance trigger so many strange events? Shaking his head, he pulled himself from his thoughts, a look of regret on his face. "Then I won't impose on you. Let me ask for a different favor instead." He took out the pale, white boundless ring. Its power had been completely depleted the last time he used it, and only the energy from a human nascent soul realm cultivator could recharge it. The artifact was far too valuable to entrust to just anyone, but since these two were the Pavilion Master's own sect brother and sister, he knew he could trust them. "I'd like to ask for your help in refilling the energy in this ring." Fairy Kyanlan recognized it instantly. "Is that a boundless ring?" she gasped. "A complete one from the Yin-Yong pair, no less. Where did you get it?" Her eyes turned red with envy. "It was a mid-grade spirit artifact, a powerful treasure meant for a pair of late-stage nascent soul realm partners, and this junior had somehow gotten his hands on it." Fang Chen cleared his throat. "It's probably better if I don't say. I wouldn't want you to lose sleep over it." "Tell me," Fairy Kyanlan snapped, "do I look like I have so little self-control?" "All right," Fang Chen said with a shrug. "I found it at the bottom of a cliff back when I was in the Foundation Establishment Realm." "Did you get that back in the Foundation Establishment Realm? Or did you just stumble upon it when that classic click about falling off a cliff and finding a legendary treasure actually happens to someone you know? It feels worse than death." Fairy Kyanlan clenched her fists and thudded her chest to ease the frustration. "You lucky little brat," she gritted her teeth. "Hand it over. I'll top it off for you." Fang Chen handed her the ring. She immediately channeled the surging energy of her second Aperture nascent soul. The pale ring turned a vivid green before his eyes, eventually deepening into a lush emerald, far more vibrant than when he'd first found it. Fairy Kyanlan let go, her face turning slightly pale from the massive drain on her nascent soul energy. Master Yunhuo took the ring and continued the infusion. The emerald hue deepened until it was nearly black, but he had to stop. Not because the ring was full, but because even a master like him had run dry. Fairy Kyanlan's lips were bloodless as she stared in shock. How much energy can this thing hold? It feels like the two of us combined haven't even filled 10% of its capacity. Fang Chen was equally stunned. Then again, this was once the life-bound artifact of a couple at the late nascent soul realm. It stood to reason that 2-second Aperture experts couldn't fully charge it. Still, the amount of energy inside was more than enough for him. "My thanks, seniors." Fairy Kyanlan gave him a playful eye roll and tossed something from her robes. "Do me a favor and stop annoying me for once." "Senior brother, let's go." Master Yunhuo cupped his hands to the master of the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. "We look forward to your sect's move to the Taicang Great Province. Farewell." As the pavilion master watched them leave, Fang Chen caught the object and opened his palm. It was a jade pendant engraved with her name. The pavilion master smiled. With that pendant, you can find her at the fire worship sect once we reach Taicang. It seems my senior sister has taken a liking to you. She usually doesn't bother with anyone else's problems. Realizing it was a valuable token, Fang Chen tucked it away with a grin. I guess calling her the pavilion master's wife really paid off. The pavilion master's expression stiffened. Watch it, kid. Now you're making fun of me. Pausing, he asked, earlier, you asked my seniors to stay and back you up. Are you in some kind of trouble? Fang Chen thought for a moment before giving a deep, formal bow. His voice was heavy. I've already asked them both, but neither could help. I can only turn to you now, pavilion master. Seeing Fang Chen so humble for the first time, the pavilion master turned serious. Speak. Your business is my business. Fang Chen didn't hold back. Concubine Yuxia and the Sea Charm Demon King are about to face their tribulation to become demon emperors. I need you to protect them while they transcend. The pavilion master went quiet, looking at Fang Chen with suspicion. Protecting the demon race and giving them 2 more emperors, you know the consequences. The Sky Sovereign Demon Emperor is already ambitious and bloodthirsty. If they get 2 more powerhouses, they'll march south immediately. Give me one good reason to help them. Fang Chen wasn't a reckless man. He wouldn't ask for something so insane without cause. He realized he couldn't hide it anymore. I know how this sounds, pavilion master, but concubine Yuxia is my woman. The pavilion master's eyes widened, his jaw dropping. Even meeting the Asura king in the underworld hadn't rattled him this much. Fang Chen's words were like a bolt of lightning echoing through his mind. Concubine Yuxia, the favorite of the demon emperor's 36 consorts, the woman known for her divine beauty. How the hell did Fang Chen manage to steal her away? You, the pavilion master, swayed, completely shocked. You've got guts. You actually went after the demon emperor's woman, and you won. Fang Chen looked sheepish. The emperor brought it on himself. He never had her heart. Then he tried to force her to kill me, and the pavilion master held up a hand to stop him. Enough. I don't need to hear about your glorious conquests. He took a deep breath. His eyes began to sparkle. I was worried the Sky Sovereign Demon Emperor would try to seize human territory after we moved. But this is the perfect chance to end that threat once and for all. If one of them breaks through, the demon race will likely flock to a new emperor given his track record. He'll lose his grip on power. It was a golden opportunity. Even if Fang Chen hadn't asked, he would have gone. When Fang Chen calculated, the tribulation is in 2 days. That's also the day the demon emperor is forcing a young demon girl to marry him. The pavilion master rubbed his hands together with a smirk. Heh, that bastard caused so much bloodshed among our people during the last war, it's only polite to return the favor. How could I miss his wedding day without bringing a gift? Get ready. In 2 days, we're paying a visit to the demon imperial court. Fang Chen's heart settled. Dealing with the demon emperor alone would have been a desperate gamble. He likely wouldn't have been able to protect the women, let alone himself. With the pavilion master's support, his confidence soared. However, he knew he needed to power up fast. A brutal battle was inevitable. After saying goodbye, Fang Chen prepared for a day of secluded meditation. Following his journey to the underworld, his 9th level golden core cultivation had finally stabilized. Now he could push for the great circle of the 9th level. He already had the resources he needed. He had been hoarding the 1,000-year clam meat, fearing it would be a waste to use it during the early stages of the golden core realm. The gap between the 9th level and the Great Circle was the hardest to cross. That was why the 9 sects and the pavilion had plenty of 9th level experts, but almost no one at the Great Circle. There was no better time to use the clam meat than now. Just as he was heading to the cultivation hall, he spotted Wu Manyu squatting in the square, selling items. She wasn't alone. With the Heavenly Secret Pavilion disbanding, many disciples were liquidating their assets to fund their next move. It was only natural. Fang Chen walked over and noticed she was even selling dust scraped from a wall. This woman, just how thoroughly did she loot that hidden space? She even scraped the plaster off the walls. Other people are selling treasures, and you're here selling trash, Fang Chen teased. Wu Manyu looked up, her face full of resentment. Oh, real funny, she said sarcastically. What choice do I have? I go on one mission with a certain someone, lose all my gear, and he gets all the credit. If I don't sell this trash, I'll be starving on the streets. Fang Chen gave a guilty smile. Everyone had taken a hit last time, but his 10,000 merit points had more than made up for his losses. Why don't you show me your best stuff? I'll give you some business. Actually, I have 1 dragon heartblood lotus seed left. It's yours. Wu Manyu's eyes lit up, her attitude shifting instantly. Oh, I knew you cared about me, junior brother Fang. She immediately pulled out some worthless items. Check these out. Top-tier treasures, every single one. Fang Chen's pulse throbbed in his temple. Is she seriously trying to hustle me? He scanned her wares. It was all junk. There was even a moth-eaten, tattered painting. She actually had the nerve to try and sell that. Suddenly, the ghost soul crystal in his robe vibrated. That woman is insane. She actually took this painting that depicts the ruthless ancient saint who slaughtered the held dwellers that invaded the central lands. Fang Chen's expression shifted. An ancient saint. He quickly grabbed the tattered scroll, desperate to see what such a legendary figure looked like. But as he looked, disappointment washed over him. The face in the portrait was bizarrely blurred, as if it had been soaked in water after being painted. He could make out where the features should be, but the details and even the shape of the jaw were a total smudge. Even a ghost couldn't make this out, Fang Chen muttered. The words were barely out of his mouth when Kui Xing jumped. Hey, are you trying to get us killed? How dare you bad mouth a portrait of an ancient sage. If you've got a death wish, fine, but don't you dare drag me down with you. A chill went down Fang Chen's spine. He suddenly remembered the time he'd muttered something about the Great Sun Demonic Emperor being treated unfairly. A few days later, he was nearly struck by lightning just walking down the road. He quickly pressed his palms together, looking to the heavens and praying, just a slip of the tongue, no offense meant. When nothing strange happened, he finally dared to look back at the painting. Though her face was blurred, the rest of the portrait was clear. The ancient sage was a woman in a pale cyan gown, radiating an ethereal grace. She was tall and slender, with the delicate, fragile beauty of a willow branch swaying in a gentle breeze. She stood there quietly, hands gently clasped before her, her presence poised and serene. It was impossible to connect this image with the ruthless figure Kui Xing had described. For some reason, he felt a nagging sense of familiarity. Fang Chen studied the scroll, stroking his chin in thought. It felt like he'd met someone like her before, but he just couldn't place who it was. Kui Xing scoffed. What are you dreaming about? You think you've actually met an ancient sage? The 9 ancient sages of the Central Plains are beings of profound mystery. They never reveal themselves to mortals. Then where is this feeling of familiarity coming from? Fang Chen asked doubtfully. Kui Xing replied, the ancient sages reflect a part of everyone. It's perfectly normal to feel like you've seen them before. I see, Fang Chen nodded. As he continued to examine the painting, his eyes suddenly caught something. He held the scroll closer, staring intently. To his surprise, tucked away in the very corner was a massive 5-colored rooster pecking at bugs on the ground. Fang Chen touched the feather he kept on his chest, his expression stunned. His mind flashed back to the tomb of the great sage Earth Phoenix at the foot of the Spirit Beast Sect's mountain, and the simple wooden sign that casually read, Tomb of Little Phoenix. Could it be, was the rooster in the painting the great sage Earth Phoenix? And if so, did that mean an ancient sage was the one who buried it? Was that why the sage remembered him, why he'd almost been struck by lightning? Was it because he had desecrated the Earth Phoenix's tomb? Heavens above, the Divine Path sect were the ones who dug up the grave. He was just salvaging scraps, finding a single feather of the great sage Earth Phoenix in a pile of dirt. The moment the thought crossed his mind, the feather on his chest began to burn with a scorching heat. Thankfully, his cultivation was on a whole new level now, so the heat was no longer enough to actually hurt him. All right, I didn't call you a scrap, Fang Chen said, exasperated. Still, the feather's reaction confirmed it. That was definitely it in the painting. An ancient sage who raised chickens. He'd have to be extra careful around women who kept chickens from now on. Putting the scroll away, Fang Chen casually tossed it back. The painting's ancient, sure, but it's not worth a handful of coppers. I'd suggest you just keep it. Wu Manyu rolled her eyes and reluctantly pulled a fingernail-sized shard of a broken spirit stone from her robes. It pulsed with a dense spiritual energy. This is a spirit crystal, but not just any crystal. It's a shard from a supreme, grade 1. I'll trade it for one of your dragon heart blood lotus seeds. Fang Chen's eyes lit up with interest. A supreme grade spirit crystal. This is the first time I've ever seen one. Wu Manyu snorted. You bet, supreme grade spirit crystals are priceless in the Taicang Continent. Everyone wants them, but no one can get them. I heard Vice, Master Gu from the Junction Tower, paid a fortune for one from our Heavenly Secret Pavilion's master. Even a tiny shard like this would have people fighting over it. Are they really that sought after? He wondered. It suddenly occurred to him that he still had hundreds of thousands of crystal tokens he hadn't redeemed at the Heavenly Secret Pavilion. Could he use the mountain and river cauldron to refine all those low-grade crystals into supreme grade ones? So, do you want it or not? If not, I'm selling it to someone else. Fang Chen handed her the dragon heart blood lotus seed. Wu Manyu giggled, quickly tucking the lotus seed deep inside her robes. After glancing over her other wares and confirming they were all junk, Fang Chen got up to leave. Just as he was about to go, he thought of something else. Are you staying or leaving? Looking at Wu Manyu clearing out her stall, Fang Chen had a pretty good idea of her plans. With the underground world sealed, the Heavenly Secret Pavilion was useless to her. Knowing her mercenary nature, she would never stick around to help them rebuild from scratch in the Taicang Continent. What's this? Can't bear to see me go. Wu Man, you gave him a flirtatious look and giggled. Beg me, and maybe I'll stay. Fang Chen just rolled his eyes at her and walked away. As she watched his retreating back, the smile slowly faded from Wu Manyu's face, the light in her crystalline eyes dimmed, and she let out a soft, disappointed sigh. All good things must come to an end, I suppose. Until we meet again, Fang Chen. A short while later, her stall was still there, but she was gone. Fang Chen made his way to the cultivation hall. He chose a private chamber, took out the 1,000-year-old clam flesh, and began his attempt to break through to the peak of the 9th stage of the Golden Core Realm. Unbeknownst to him, Chen Xiling, dressed in a flowing, inquash-style gown, had followed him silently and now stood outside his chamber door. She was as exquisitely beautiful as ever, but her usual fresh, vibrant energy was gone, replaced by an aloof, noble chill. The most striking change, however, was in her eyes. Her pupils were no longer their usual brown, but a pale moon, like silver, like two tiny moons floating in an icy gaze. Within her mind, Chen Xiling's own voice echoed in a panic. Moon Sovereign, what are you doing? You can't hurt him. The Moon Sovereign had taken control. As Chen Xiling's cultivation had grown, the Sovereign's spirit, dormant within her, had been nourished. Her soul had finally become strong enough to suppress Chen Xiling's and briefly take control of her body. He's always looked out for you, why would I harm him? The Moon Sovereign's voice replied in her mind. I'm simply here to retrieve my moon mirror. It may be broken, but it's still somewhat useful. Chen Xiling let out a mental sigh of relief, but her heart ached. Ever since the heaven-connecting black pillar appeared, the Moon Sovereign had been pressuring her to leave, to travel to the ancient Moon Palace. She couldn't bear to go, and she couldn't bring herself to tell Liu Ruxue or Fang Chen, and now the Sovereign had finally forced her hand by taking control. Just let him keep the moon mirror, Chen Xiling pleaded, and it's not like you could get it back anyway. If he sees through you and rips you out of my body, it'll be too late for regrets. My husband is incredibly powerful, you know. A faint smile played on the Moon Sovereign's lips. She passed a finger before her eyes, and the two distinct moons in her pupils vanished, replaced by a normal brown. You can give up that hope, the Sovereign said coolly. Unless he reaches the nascent soul realm, he will never detect my presence. Inside the chamber, Fang Chen sealed the door and checked his surroundings. Seeing nothing amiss, he took out the meditation cushion he'd recovered from the pavilion in the Soul Formation ruins. To have survived this long without decaying, this can't be any ordinary item, he murmured. He sat down on it and was instantly filled with a gentle warmth that seeped deep into his soul. The cushion seemed to nourish his very spirit, making it incredibly easy to enter a meditative state. Truly a treasure from a Soul Formation master. He immediately adjusted his posture, readying himself to break through to the peak of the 9th stage of the Golden Core Realm. Knock, knock. A sudden rap came from the door. Fang Chen got up and opened the door. He was surprised to see Chen Xiling come in. Chen Xiling stepped into the chamber. Her gaze immediately fell on the meditation cushion, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. Sorry to disturb your cultivation. Not at all, Fang Chen said. I was actually planning to find you after my session to talk about Ruxue. Since you're here, I'll just tell you now, she won't be coming back for a while. He then briefly explained what had happened with Liu Ruxue. Hearing this, the real Chen Xiling felt a wave of relief in her mind. My sister always dreamed of this day. I can finally be at ease. Only she knew the truth. Whenever Liu Ruxue stood before powerhouses like Yu Mingzhu, Gong Keiyi, and Liu Qingxian, she masked her deep-seated insecurities with a calm facade. Being Fang Chen's fiancée carried heavy expectations, yet her martial achievements constantly fell short of his other companions. But that was all in the past now. Having claimed the legacy of an Asura emperor, she would never have to feel inadequate again. A flicker of surprise crossed the Moon Sovereign's eyes. Liu Ruxue struck gold. The ancient saint of Yunhuang crushed 2 Asura emperors in the subterranean world. One was Dongfeng Canyu, but the other was an absolute titan, Empress Dugu, wife to one of the Hell Realm's 10 great realm lords. Inheriting either of their mantles practically guarantees limitless power. Still, once you return to the Moon Palace and assimilate my essence, you won't lag a single step behind her. Chen Xiling's eyes lit up, a secret thrill blooming in her chest. As long as I can keep up, I can still come back and be Ruxue's little sister. The Moon Sovereign nearly choked. Excuse me, you're going to achieve peak cultivation and still run back here to play second fiddle. You'll be the new Moon Sovereign. Is this boy made of solid gold and diamonds? Is he really worth throwing your entire life away for? Mind your own business, Chen Xiling scoffed, and shut up already, you're about to blow our cover. Xiling, it took Fang Chen calling her name several times before the Moon Sovereign finally snapped back to reality. Are you all right? The Moon Sovereign lowered her head, feigning a heartbroken expression. It's just so sudden, I can barely process it. Fang Chen gently wrapped an arm around her waist. You were her biggest worry. She made me promise over and over to take good care of you. From now on, just stay by my side. Deep within, Chen Xiling felt her eyes prickle with tears. She murmured softly in her heart, take care of yourself, sister. Meanwhile, the Moon Sovereign stiffened in Fang Chen's embrace. Is this guy really this handsy? She grumbled internally. Wiping her tears, Chen Xiling retorted in her mind, if you hate it so much, step aside and let me take the wheel. Not until I get my hands on the Moon Realm fragment, the Moon Sovereign shot back. Though her body betrayed a slight stiffness, she smoothly leaned into his embrace and whispered, okay. Fang Chen pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. Did you need me for something? The Moon Sovereign shifted her gaze, her eyes calculating. I heard you acquired 7 Moon Realm fragments. Would you be willing to give me one? Of course, Fang Chen replied without a second thought. I'll grab it for you. He began rummaging through his spatial ring. A smug smirk crept onto the Moon Sovereign's lips. Xiling, is this the badass husband you bragged about? One look at a pretty face, and he folds like a cheap suit. Chen Xiling felt a mix of anxiety and giddy pride. That's only because he loves me. His guard is completely down around me. If it were any other manipulative snake, he'd chew her up and spit her out before she could even try to take advantage of him. Whatever you say, the Moon Sovereign replied dryly. The point is, the Moon Realm fragment is finally mine. Her gaze was locked onto Fang Chen's palm. Suddenly, a miniature 5-colored mountain materialized in his grasp. The Moon Sovereign's expression violently shifted, but by the time she realized what was happening, it was far too late. The gentle demeanor of the man she was leaning against vanished in an instant. His eyes turned ruthlessly sharp as his voice cut through the air like ice. 5-element magnetic divine light. An overwhelming blast of divine light erupted, completely enveloping a 60-foot radius. The Moon Sovereign's remnant soul hadn't even recovered to the nascent soul realm, and Chen Xiling was barely at the 4th stage of the golden core realm. How could they possibly withstand the crushing force of the divine light? Her body instantly gave out, collapsing to the floor like a puppet with its strings cut. Panic finally broke through a composed facade. W, why are you using this on me? She stammered. Fang Chen stared her down with absolute zero warmth. When we're alone, Xiling always calls me husband. She never refers to me as you. In the Moon Sovereign's mind, Chen Xiling's gloating laughter echoed loud and clear. Ha ha ha, sweet revenge. See, I told you, my husband was an absolute badass. Imagine surviving eons as an ancient sovereign, only to get absolutely obliterated by a single pronoun. The Moon Sovereign really thought she was cooking. She tries to finesse Fang Chen for loot like he's some gullible simp. But my guy doesn't just cultivate the Tao, he cultivates weaponized paranoia. One tiny slip-up, saying you instead of husband, and boom, 5-element magnetic divine light straight to the dome. Get cooked, Grandma. You can manipulate cosmic laws, but you can't fake the waifu dynamic. Absolute cinema. So I have to ask, when ancient parasites literally wear your lover's face, is Fang Chen's point blank execution a masterclass in Xingxia survival, or just peak sociopathic paranoia? Defend your verdict in the comments.